monkeys. It's not. When it becomes my business is when the US steps out of line and continues to pick a side. And when we are sending my money and our people in places that they don't belong. When I say I'm for America first, I'm for America first. Anyone that doesn't like what I say, how I say it, or I don't pick a side they don't like or they like is too fucking bad. That goes for Charles. That goes for Stelt.
Oh, no,
That
no,
goes
no.
for
It goes
any
for the U.S.
motherfucking
government.
body.
Listen,
I
listen.
don't
You've been
care.
tagged in these spaces, and I don't want to be rude to you about this. Just to be clear about this, you and Boxing and a few of the others that are in these spaces are known to push the BB line, and I'm just letting
No,
you
I don't
know.
push any baby line. You have no proof of
I'm just
that.
letting you
But
know that you're already on a list,
you keep
and you can
spouting
continue.
ginger,
You can
and I'll
continue talking
listen.
over me
I'll
if you
wait.
want, but you're on a list, and so the question for you is: do you want to continue with this behavior as we wrap up?
Are you threatening me? Because
I'm
I'll
not
let me
threatening you.
hit record so I
I'm
can get
telling
this.
you that you're on a list.
Let me get
That's
this on record.
Oh,
So,
please do. I mean, just to
are
be very
you
clear about it.
threatening
And by the
me?
way, you've been recorded for the last 6 weeks on these spaces. Just so you're aware,
Okay,
like
great.
all of the
Great. That
conversations
sounds
that you've had in all of these
wonderful.
spaces, you've been recorded
Wonderful.
by an allied to U.S. intelligence service. So just to be very clear about
Wow.
this, just so you know that I know what you are, you're in trouble. And the question is, do you want to continue playing this game or not? It's up to you.
Okay, Charles. You
I'm not
threatened me
threatening you. And
once.
by
Now
the
it's
way, you can
twice.
come
Let's
over
go for a
anytime.
third.
I'm happy to meet you in the streets. I'm happy to have you to photograph you and
You're
document who
threatening me
you are.
again.
And I'm happy to have you get registered under FARA as the Israeli influence agent that we know you are. No problem at all. Happy to do it.
Charles, you are so whacked. I
Sure,
had
now
more
I'm
respect
whacked.
for you before you
Very
came for
simple,
me.
very simple. You are a disinformation agent in these spaces. It's what you are. Now you may do it. You
And
may do
what
it
makes you,
because
and
you
where's your
get
proof
money
of
from
that,
them. You may do
Charles?
it.
Charles. Where do we think Miss G is providing
Oh, I mean, there's
any
so many examples
disinformation?
of her always siding with the Israeli cause or with the Likud cause. I don't. I mean, I don't want to be rude about it. I haven't listened to all, whatever. But what's happening is there are people in these spaces, like me and others, who are tagging people and then forwarding it on to the British or forwarding it on to people in the U.S. government, and we're tagging you guys, just letting you know, like that's what's going on. And what will happen is you'll be identified if you're not already identified. And then you'll be added to a financial blacklist for basically pushing disinformation and talking points. Kind of like what happened to Tommy Robinson.
What's the
By the way, what
disinformation,
happened to
if I
Tommy
may ask?
Robinson is an example of this, but there are other examples, right? Laura Loomer got debanked, right? There are many examples of people in these spaces
I
that
Charles, I ain't got shit. Come after me. I ain't got
uh
shit.
huh. Well, we'll see about that,
I don't.
right? So I'm just letting you know, like, and I'm letting everybody who's in these spaces.
I mean, Charles, should we really be taking it
Oh,
this
we are taking it
seriously,
this
though? Is this?
seriously, just to be clear about it, because we're knowing that there are IDF task forces in these spaces that are pushing certain Likud lines. And what's happening is, uh,
You seriously give me too much
I'm
credit,
just
Charles.
telling
I
you,
got to tell you.
this is what's
I,
happening
I,
right
I,
now.
I
Like,
I
you may not like
honestly,
this, but this is what's happening.
I don't
You're
really give
being
a flying
tagged
fuck. How
and
about
you're
that?
being documented. And there are many people who are in these
Okay.
spaces who are being tagged and documented. So you're not alone, Miss G. Like, don't take it personally, right? But what's happening is we're identifying
Oh, I
you
don't.
and we're recording it and we're putting it into our databases and we're doing the speech analytics. There's a
I'm
really
glad you
wonderful
find this
software tool
amusing,
that
Zag.
what they're doing is there's a software tool that basically identifies people from their voices, which is why it's kind of dumb to be anonymous in these spaces, just FYI. But
I don't know, but I don't know if we should loop Miss G in
I'm just telling
with
you,
this
she's on the
threat. I
list.
mean, that's
I didn't set up the list. It is what it is.
And
D
you did.
list.
But
D
you know what?
list.
You know what,
Interesting.
Charles? Have at it. You got no proof. Like I said before, and I'll say it again, I am a woman who lives in New York City who has family that is in Israel, Beersheba, and I do not like what happened there. So, personally, my take is if you come for someone, you got to expect that they're going to come back at you. And that's all there is to it. As for what is going on there, geopolitically and the involvement. Listen, I am no geopolitical expert. All I'm saying is I don't want my country
Your
involved.
country is paying
That's where it
billions of dollars to
ends.
the Israeli government. The U.S. government gives billions of dollars to
And
the
I am aware, and
Israelis.
I am not okay with
Uh
that.
huh. So you have the same position Bibi Netanyahu does on the U.S. sending remittances, which is that you don't want to see it anymore, right? That's what your position is. The same
I'm
position.
sorry, what's that? I don't
You don't
understand.
want the U.S. government.
I think Ms. G wants to cut off funding.
That's
Is
the
that
same
correct?
position Netanyahu takes, and then of course it never happens. How interesting.
Listen,
But Netanyahu has said that they'd like to
Charles,
funding.
Yeah, he
Charles,
made that first in the
again,
1990s. He made that speech, and he again
Charles,
did it.
you threatened me three
I'm not
times. I
threatening
have
you. I'm
no
telling
idea
you,
what you're talking about.
you're already on a list right now. So it's up to you if
Okay,
you want to stay on
great.
that list, and it's up to you if you want to continue pushing Israeli propaganda. Up to you, your choice.
Charles, let me tell you something. If this was Italy, I'd still have the same position and probably even stronger because that is where I'm from. Okay? I do not like terrorist activity. I lived through 9/11. I lived through 93. I was downtown. I don't like it. I don't think it's okay. And I do believe that if, like I said before, they have a right to defend themselves. Now, is it out of control? Ain't my, like I said, ain't my circus, ain't my monkeys. Just don't send any more money and don't fucking look to send our people and our military there. That is it. And if you don't like it and you want to say, I'm on a list, Charles, I'm on a list, and you want to sit here and fucking threaten some
I'm not
middle-aged
threatening
woman
you.
in New York
I'm
City
just
because
telling
you
you we
don't
know what
like
you
that I don't
are.
say what you want me to say,
know what you are,
too
Miss G.
fucking
It's
bad.
over. It's done. Like the fourth wall, we broke through it. It's done. So you're going to have to
Whatever,
make a
Charles.
choice of whether or not you want to
You're
go
drinking too
underground or
much
not.
your own Kool-Aid.
By the way, we're doing you a solid of like letting you guys know that we have eyes on you. So that's more than you've done for many of us in your Israeli disinformation groups.
I have no idea what you're
Uh huh.
talking about. You are
Mm-hmm.
insane.
Uh huh. Sure. Sure, Miss G.
Oh my God, there's something mentally wrong with you.
This is a common technique, by the way. The Hasbara people use it to call them crazy or whatever. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Charles,
Wait, what is the accusation
he's
that you're
saying I'm an
leveling
Israeli
here?
op. You
You
believe this
are. Yeah.
shit?
You
Charles,
are an
am
Israeli
I
op.
an Israeli
I
op?
don't know. I haven't actually heard about you, actually, Caroline. You're not on the list that I have in front of me. Just to be honest with you, you're not on the list. So maybe you are. I don't know, but you. I haven't been
Is
told you are.
Kaiser on this
Does that
list?
mean I'm
Kaiser is
just
not
doing
on
a
this
good
list.
job?
But Kaiser did work in the German military, didn't you, Kaiser?
Oh shit.
Secret, but Charles,
I
can
saw
I just,
I think we knew that already,
yeah,
didn't
that's,
we?
but the
We
thing,
did.
Kaiser. I saw you posted that you were on a train to Poland of all places today. What was up with that?
My heavens,
Whoa.
what's become of us? Kaiser in Poland. Whew.
hello, this is all, we are European Union, we are neighbors, we are friends, it's free movement,
Sure,
hello? No, no,
sure.
no, look, man, look, Charles, I will just say this, um, honestly, man, I don't know what's going on here. Miss G, my experience with Miss G, obviously I don't know anyone here personally, but I would not say that Miss G is in any kind involved in any kind of clandestine operation. For one simple reason, she actually never pushes some kind of these talks anyway. She doesn't even like to talk about geopolitics. And when it comes to stealth, I mean, if you put a gun to my head and say decide, stealth is a bona fide operator. She's an agent provocateur, and she's very obvious. She operates like Visegrad, like Radio Genoa. She wants to steer shit up. It's so obvious, man. I never called her out in earlier spaces because you don't want to.
Yeah, there are different ones that are more officially out than others, but they steer the conversation in different ways. It's all part of the Hasbara training. Like it's okay.
I
Like
just say,
you
Charles.
are on a
I'm
Charles, you're
just
list.
saying
so.
my.
Hey, Richard, this guy thinks I'm an Israeli op. Could you please, with this nonsense? This is hysterical.
I'm actually curious what Richard's thoughts are on this.
I think Richard, it looks like
Me
he's
of
having
all
connection
people.
He
problems.
disconnected. Charles, I wanted to ask you. So, someone like, let's say, Stealth, who we've brought up a few times, how high up in the chain of command do you think she is? Who do you think she reports directly to?
I don't know. I haven't been assigned stealth. I know somebody who is working on stealth, but I don't know. I could find out for you if you're
Wait,
interested.
what do you mean assigned? What does that mean?
Yeah, so there are a number of us who have U.S. or British or Five Eyes intelligence connections. Some of them are there in the space right now with all of us, by the way. Um, and what they do is they document a lot of the behavior that goes on in these spaces, and then they tip it off to like GCHQ, or there's a guy at the NSA I've met who's like tagging all these people, and then they sort of identify. They try to do linguistic analysis, all that good stuff about who's who in all these spaces. And some of them they dox, some of them they start having financial difficulty, so they get debanked because we don't allow espionage activity in spaces. We just don't, like, it's not allowed. So that's sort of something to kind of watch as time goes on. And you'll notice that like a lot of these right wingers are starting to have trouble with their banking. They're complaining about being hacked or whatever. You saw that with Ben Domenech earlier, and so that's what's going on. And I'm sorry it's happening to some of them, but it's actually kind of funny, to be honest. And so I just wanted people to know that that's what's going on in these spaces. So if you're kind of curious, it's useful to know. And by the way, thank you for those who've sent me people that they suspect or all that. That's been very interesting and somewhat thrilling. So happy to continue this conversation. But yeah, Miss G, you really, really should register. It's rude not to.
Well, doesn't
I'm
she
going to
work for Hamas?
respectfully ask that you stop with the narrative because it's starting to irritate me now.
Charles, let me ask you
Okay,
this.
hold
because
on.
this is
Can you guys
something-
hear me?
I can hear you,
Yeah.
Richard. I can
Hey,
hear you.
Richard.
Go ahead.
Okay, speaking of hacking, I told a joke and no one laughed, so I was like, what is going on here? But first off, in terms of hacking, I was actually just posting something to Twitter, and I think I like clicked edit the post or something, and now I feel like my Twitter account is gone or something. It's like I have to
Twitter's down
search.
right
It's
now,
busted
Richard.
as
There's like
fuck
a
right now.
worldwide. Yeah, there's a
Okay, so
worldwide like
this is
coding
due to the
issue.
new authentication service or something?
Well,
No.
it's because Elon decided to go with the Israeli backend on all of this stuff, and so GCHQ is now hacking Twitter to fuck with Elon.
What is GCHQ?
It's because they like to run changes on live without testing beforehand. And this is why you see the most trivial shit like timestamps breaking every other fucking day because they don't know how to have a dev environment separate from the live one.
Okay. I just
So it's not a
why?
hack. It's not.
No,
a
they
hack?
don't actually have enough coders to begin with because they're losing money because Uncle Sam and others are making it harder for them to get ad revenue. So Musk is basically in trouble with the ownership of Twitter.
Yeah, I don't even
This works
necessarily
because
need
it's
explanations or conspiracies. I'm just like genuinely curious.
Yeah, I don't think
Your
it's just
Twitter's
you.
fine, Richard. It's not just you. It'll be fixed tomorrow.
Everyone's timeline has disappeared, I would imagine.
Oh my God! What? I mean, this is just
Yeah,
total
okay,
incompetence.
let's look
I'm
It
sorry.
shows the tweets that you had, but all of them are missing. Hopefully they can restore it.
This is just abject incompetence, in my opinion. I mean, this is not 2004 or something. I mean, this is not that difficult to do as a major tech company. I mean, give me a break.
Well, I mean, that's assuming that it was all built properly in the first place. And I think if there's one thing that we can notice after the last year, it's that Musk has made more changes to Twitter in the last year than Twitter made in the last 5 to 7 before that. And perhaps this is why.
Okay, well,
But
what are the major changes?
Caroline, fair enough. But again, look, the simple thing about the double glitch, for example. This shit is going on for almost a year now, and it's still not being fixed. And come on, I mean, honestly, now I'm not even a free ride. I'm paying. No, I'm paying customers, so I have certain demands here. And this app, honestly, I like the spaces. Without the spaces, this app would be totally shit. There's so many bugs. There's so many issues. And yeah, as Richard is saying, that's not the year 2004, 2005. I mean, come on. And the dude was so proud when he was firing all the programmers. Oh, they're all useless. All useless. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. What now? You know.
Well, they're useless if they're actively working against the vision that he has for the company. It
App
doesn't matter the skill that you
but
have if
Caroline,
you
this
are
app has so many
conspiring against the boss.
mistakes. It's a disgrace. I mean, that's not Microsoft 90s. You know, in the 90s, you know, the old saying is, you will optimize the system at customer's place. You know, Microsoft could pull that shit because they were the only ones. They basically had a monopoly. But Twitter,
I just disagree.
you cannot just pull that off, man. Where's the standard here? Come on, I'm paying money. I want good service.
Yeah, I know
Look at
that
how
there's
many
a
glitches
standard,
there
but when
are.
you're talking about development and coding, like the way that something is built is important. There's a reason why Elon has said, you know, perhaps we'll have to scrap the whole thing and build it from scratch at some point. Because all of these codes, like, you can't just go in and wave your little magic fairy wand and have it all fixed.
I mean, you can, however, push your changes to a separate environment, do some rudimentary quality assurance testing on it, and then push it to live instead of just dumping the changes right on live like it's been doing for the past year. It's amateur bullshit, quite frankly.
But Vaughn, if you have like a whole app already built, can you separately create that environment 10 years down the road? Like, is that so easy, or is it possible that Elon has developers completely coding Twitter to what he wants it to be from scratch separately?
If he's if he's clean rooming it, basically rewriting it from scratch, then the changes will never be pushed to live because it's a different code base. What we're seeing is changes made to the existing app. So they're editing the same code base and deploying the changes directly to the live build instead of testing it first and then pushing it after it works.
I understand that. I'm just asking if it's possible that both things are happening.
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they have the manpower to be doing that because that takes an ungodly amount of man hours to do both simultaneously.
I know where you're coming from, but von Cloudwit is so spot on. In German, we call it verschlimmbessern. I don't know in engineering. I don't know the right English term here. It's like basically you're making it worse by intending to make it better. But basically, you have an existing system, and in trying to improve it or to fix bugs, you're actually making it worse. And because sometimes, yeah, I mean, anyway, I mean, I get you. It's complicated whatsoever, but the thing is, even this double glitch here or this glitching, you know, in spaces, which is really annoying. And there's like a quick, maybe not a quick win, but that would be something, okay, that has been improved, it's visible for customers. And we are all customers here. Everyone has this blue check mark, and it's not happening. And that's an issue. And the problem I have with Elon, if Elon would be more humble, you know, I think people would have less of a problem. But the dude is always like this big talk, and then he can't even fix the double glitch. And that's a problem. One day, I mean, the chicken come home to roost, so to say. But yeah, okay. Let's see.
That's what I don't get is how they don't fix the spaces glitches. Like, I mean, like we had like Ventrilo like 20 years ago that offered pretty seamless like voice over internet. Like, how can they not do this in spaces? Like, Discord is better. They probably have like 1/100th of the budget.
I mean, yeah, like voice chat is a solved problem. It has been for over a decade. I do not understand why it's so broken, honestly. Also, damn you for mentioning Ventrilo and making me feel old.
When I was young, when I was a kid and played World of Warcraft, that's how we would communicate with each other, was on Vent.
Yep, Diablo 2, we used to rock Ventrilo.
Okay, so
let's go to Marie. Go ahead.
So I see you guys are talking about what I have a question about. How long has Twitter been broken, essentially? I mean, my timeline doesn't work.
About an hour.
This just started for me. I was just posting this article that I just published on Substack, which is very good, by the way. Everyone should read it, especially Hannah. Oh, especially Kaiser. Kaiser will be crying himself to sleep tonight. In fact, I should apologize in advance.
Is it about Santa?
No, Santa remains cool. No, it's Norse paganism. It's it's revealed for the fraud that it is. It's not an actual thing.
Okay.
I mean,
Norse paganism was created by Christians
You're
as
probably
a
not
form
going to
of
sell me on
conversion,
that.
which worked.
Is this
Maurice,
because of
Familiar?
the Halder translation, or is it because monks transcribed the oral stories?
Yeah, transcribed oral stories. I don't buy that for a second. I mean, I think Sturluson was. I mean, I think he was. I don't believe that he had access to Hebrew or was conversant in Latin, which is what he would need to create the prologue to the Prose Edda, which is just a summary of Genesis. And beyond that, like the story of Balder is just obviously Adonis or Christ. Odin is a kind of Christ figure. He hangs himself on a tree and is wounded in his side. Then he receives the runes, that is the word. So it is all like fundamentally Christian. And it worked as conversion. So it was successful propaganda. But the idea that people like want to worship Odin or whatever, it's gotta stop.
Which it's cringe. I totally agree with you. These neo pagans, it's totally fucking cringe, and it's honestly, it's also not the real deal. Like this whole, it's like you see these like I'm a warrior queen, and come on, man, that is not how
I know, it's just silliness.
Man. And the problem is, I like the series Vikings. I liked it very much, but there was also a lot of cringe in that. Like, the Shield Maiden.
Richard, how can we see this article? It's not
on
in
Substack. I'll post it. I mean, I don't even know if I can post at this point.
Am I gonna have to resubscribe to listen to read this?
No posting.
What do you mean resubscribe? You left me, Hannah?
I did. I can't remember what you said, but you made me mad, and I was like, I'm done. But I'll resubscribe.
It's
I
interesting
rage
that
quit.
India Today is the only news outlet even covering this, this outage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't find a single article except for the
Is that 'cause
India
all the servers
Today.
were there?
Right. How do you do this again? You press the big plus at the bottom?
I don't know if you can
I
post
like
something right now.
how on Richard's Substack, if you just subscribe monthly for the $9 a month, you don't get the gratitude. And in fact, it's scratched out. There's no gratitude.
No gratitude.
That's so funny.
I found Substack, Richard. You don't have to post it. I'm reading it right now.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's quite good. I think pretty pointed. We compare Norse paganism to Christian rock from the 90s. So it's this kind of badass, kind of mystical version of Christianity.
Did you listen to some DC Talk?
Some what?
DC Talk.
Oh, I don't see. I Googled Christian rock bands just to add them to the article, but I only
Richard,
found.
You should have asked.
I know. I should have asked. I only found the Newsboys, and then my favorite was a Catholic Christian rock called Critical Mass. Get it?
I know the Newsboys. I don't know Critical Mass.
Yeah. God's not dead, he is surely alive, living on the inside, like roaring like a lion. Kind of not quite rhyming.
Nietzsche defeated, obviously.
Exactly.
God's not dead.
God's alive, Nietzsche's dead. Yes.
Christian rap music is awful. There's no redeeming quality to it whatsoever. But there's one Christian rap group from, I think they're from the early 90s. They called themselves the Gospel Gangsters. And they
it's pretty funny.
One of them is in prison for murder.
The Jesus Christ is my N-word song.
Well, they might have. The first line to one of their songs is "Let us pray, my," and then N-word.
Okay, Chadical, I believe that is actually a fraud.
It's a song.
No, I know. No. What I mean is, they did it really well, but it like that sure I watched a YouTube video and I read an article like that in which they applied the historical method to this video, and apparently it seems to be a fraud. So there
The one like
wasn't
the
this
old people
church,
singing kind of thing.
yeah, where they
Okay.
say
Yeah.
Jesus Christ is my
Yeah.
N-word. Yeah, I forgot some of the other lines. They're just equally hilarious and absurd.
I remember
I
the
can
first time I
remember
saw
them or
that. I was
play it.
just
That would be great.
you can
I
find it
mean,
on
it was
YouTube in 2
just.
seconds.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
there.
I was
It's funny.
gassed. Yeah, it was just insane. But so apparently that was like some weird like troll project in the 2000s.
Yeah. That's
So
kind
they
of what I
hired
would
actors
probably
and things
assume.
like
Yeah.
that, but it's still like very funny.
Boxing, we lost boxing. Where did you went?
Oh, I love it when she said, she's like, if someone's mean to me, I turn the other cheek. And then
Yep.
she like slapped her butt or something. I mean, it's just horrible.
It's hard to believe that it was a fake, honestly. Like, it seems like the kind of thing that a youth group would get together and tell church elders that they need to make to like open up to
Oh,
the
yeah.
urban
It
youth or
sounds like
something.
the new MAGA rap.
Oh yeah, I mean most of that's just
It's
trash.
it's
Oh,
But
that
not
stuff is
as
so
What
bad.
is that MAGA rap? That it's offensive. Hate it.
there's
it
Like
is
that one
definitely
with
offensive.
the female rapper, that's exactly what you just like. It sounded exactly the same what you were talking about.
Well, in defense of Jesus Christ is my N-word.
it's different.
It's so kind of like goofy that it's kind of fun. Like these are innocent people who
Oh, yeah.
don't know how cringe they are. But that MAGA housewife MILF thing, that is just awful. The other thing, the one scene from that I saw was like the MAGA MILF is like, trans men don't understand what it's like to be a real woman. You sit home all day and your like husband pays or whatever. And it's like, yeah, actually, I think a trans man could do that. In fact,
I was
that's not.
actually a little disappointed with your post about the MAGA rap. Like I thought you were going too nice on them by calling them porn brained. Like I think that was
Oh.
so far
I mean,
enough.
pretty much everything in that genre is pretty porn brain.
I had to go look up the whole song just out of like morbid curiosity. It is so bad. So
Jesus
bad.
Christ is my nigga. That one.
No. I've heard
Wow.
that one. I'm talking about the MAGA rap song
Yeah.
where she's like, trans men don't know how to be women, and I don't know, just her whole
Yeah.
rap. It was just awful, the
It's
whole
funny.
thing.
It's like right wingers aren't allowed to be racist
Four
anymore, so they take out all their
Moors.
anger on trannies now. You know, have y'all noticed this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Trump's nephew guy that started all this like MAGA rap?
I don't know. Barron probably has made a song and
Well,
released it under a different
back
name.
in the day, there were rappers at CPAC. It's actually a long genre of people, and there were these like wigger types, if I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah,
And
Mike DC, you need to look him up. He has a song called Donald Trump. I think it's like the best political rap song ever. Got a lot of money like I'm Donald Trump. Lot of bitches trying to fuck me like I'm Donald Trump. Pull up in a foreign whip looking rich as fuck. Tell the hoe get on her knees cause I'm Donald Trump. It's funny, it's hilarious. You gotta, and the music video is
Yeah.
even better. It's like it's so
Who is it?
ridiculous. What?
Who's the artist that you cut out when you said
MikeDece? Mike DC.
I sent Richard a Kevin Gates song when he was talking about how he doesn't
You didn't
like
listen to it
rap.
yet, huh?
He listened to it.
Do you like it?
Some of it, he said.
That was just horrible.
Do y'all want to see the bloopers from my app development escapades of the day?
He said, "Why did you send me this rap song?" I'm just trying to expose you to other cultures, Richard.
Yes, I was exposed.
Exposed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a ton done today on styling my app and making it look pretty good. It looks really Looks pretty modern now, if I do say so myself. It looks like
So your app is basically a bar hopping app.
kind of, yeah. It's gonna be social media. The idea is to get
Sort of a groiper bar hopping app, yeah.
well, I don't think many gropers drink, but we'll see. I don't know. But the idea is to get some kind of collective
That'll be good
bargaining
for them.
going. For like if you
They
got
can
some
go and
friends and y'all are gonna go out,
harass.
you know, maybe save a little money on your tab.
Yeah, I
$12
think the
bucks.
idea is solid.
Yeah.
You never know whether these things will take off or not. That's one
Yeah.
thing I've known a lot of people who've created apps that sound really good and it doesn't go anywhere, and then these apps that are total shit go somewhere. So it's a weird thing.
It's like you know, I think it's gonna be a lot of kind of network marketing. I'm gonna have to get like a core group of people in like one city kind of up on it, like the party people in Arizona or something like that, you know, or you know, and kind of like get one big city kind of like liking it and enjoying it after I've like tested it with the people here locally in Houston. But I don't know, it's still a little ways off. I've got a lot of stuff to do still.
Yeah. So history speaks. Do you want to force us to talk about Israel-Palestine?
Not
I'm sure
tonight.
that
How much do y'all want to talk about that shit? Like, are you ever gonna get tired of it? Is my question.
Well, what's going on with the counter? Does anyone have any insight?
Okay,
It's
yeah,
kind of buggy
lots
right
of
now.
moves.
I'm glad that you said this because I was very worried that I was like deplatformed or something. But I apparently have not been. It's just a buggy app.
Well,
Who knows?
the Jews don't.
Yeah,
like
if I were
right
you, that would have
now.
been
They
my
just like who
assumption
you
too,
were
Richard. That
previously.
this is like a block or something like that.
Yeah, it's like it finally happened.
Yeah, Chadical, the politically correct term would be the Israelis.
The Chisraelis, actually.
Okay,
They
so I'm
don't.
going
They
to
don't
call
like.
all you
They don't
motherfuckers
dislike
out in the
us.
room. Hi, Richard.
Miss G is very upset we didn't shut
I
Charles
already
down.
spoke with Zach
I don't
privately.
know. I mean, that's sort of Chuck being Chuck.
I
I
don't
wouldn't
give a
worry about
shit.
it. I wouldn't worry
Listen,
about it.
if I have your back, I expect the same in return.
Well, he called you an Israeli asset?
Are you Richard,
Were you not
could you
here for that
believe?
conversation?
Is your chin on the floor, Richard? I'll help you pick it up.
Yeah, I just don't really buy that. It's just like everyone's an asset at that
No,
point.
Richard, he threatened me.
It's like an
He
over
threatened me.
exaggeration kind of thing.
Miss G, the criticism I have of you is not that you're an Israeli asset; it's that you got rid of Miss. I think Miss G was better than G. Just my preference.
Mm-hmm.
Not
I'm
everyone.
sorry, honey. I didn't hear you. History.
Myself and Zach are in the clear.
Oh, I just liked Miss G as your handle better than G. I'm just saying my opinion.
Yeah,
you got to go back
you
to
know
Miss
what?
G. You
I needed to
That's
cut
so
it.
much better.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just G now. But
Are you married?
The realization
There's so many
is
G's on the
and Hannah, I'm going to call you on the carpet too, sister. I mean, to even imagine that I am, or for someone to make accusations like that about me, really?
You're
And
like,
nobody
you've
like
arrived,
you're
Miss
making
G.
it
Means you've
being
arrived.
let me
You've finally
mute
been
this
accused.
motherfucker and stand up for my girl because this shit is
Wait,
fucking
what
insane.
happened?
Did you not hear?
Charles said that Miss G was a BB shill, or
And
what
that
was
And
it?
that
and
I
that
need to
she was
BB
assigned to
register,
him.
and
Don't
how
forget
I'm
that.
on lists, and
Well,
how I'm
you've
being
been
watched,
activated.
BB
You've been
shill
and
activated.
how I
one
need to
thing.
watch my accounts don't get frozen,
You've been
and how I
activated.
won't have the ability to sell, and this, and that, and asking me where I live, and lying that I'm from New York. I mean, it was the most insane, fucking wild shit
When
I
was
ever heard. And no one opened up their.
When was this?
Oh, I said plenty of stuff. I said, "Oh, come on."
Yeah, oh, come on. Did I do that
let's
with
not
you?
put Miss G in
Did I
this
do that with you,
category.
Zag? When Kaya tried to make false
Oh, I don't care what she
accusations
says.
about you?
I
Come
mean,
on, brother.
listen,
When-
this is
I stood
it's
up
one thing.
adamantly
It's
for
one
you.
thing when It's
I don't
one
know
thing
why
when
you all lick
people.
this man's ass. You scared of him?
No.
I'm scared of one person. That's God Almighty.
Well, and the Pope. No, you're not afraid of the Pope. He could excommunicate you, G.
So this
Yeah,
morning,
I don't
Miss,
like that motherfucker either.
I got a DM from someone that accused me of being Nazi trash and wanting me to die because of my views
Let's
on it.
go.
And
Welcome
you know,
to the team.
I despise Nazis.
No, I
But
know, but I get called that all the time too.
one year out the other. So what if Charles thinks that you're a Israeli asset? Like, you
Listen,
know,
I really don't care what he thinks. I don't like the accusations he threw out in a space full of people who do not know me. I got 8 million people following my ass now, and I don't know because is down if they're just following me because I didn't take no stood up for myself, or
Oh,
because
I would not.
they are some sort of crazies.
I would not put any stock into that. I don't think that you are on a list. I don't think you're being watched. I don't think any of that. I think
I
like what
don't
he's
believe
doing
so
is he's
either.
trying
I
to
just don't like
Chadical's
the rhetoric.
he's
Chatical,
just
you know
trying to
me.
kind of get you to
Chatical, you
not
know me.
pursue
We go
that
back
line
and
of
forth
thought and
all the
opinion.
time. Do you hear me,
Yeah.
Chatical?
Yeah, no, I know. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you not open up your mouth and say something?
Well,
I
I
didn't
don't
have
think
my
I even have
earbuds
to
in,
say
Miss
it.
G.
hold
I was
on.
trying to brush my hair, but
And
like
the other
it
thing
all
too,
sounded so ridiculous that I
it
just
sounded
didn't
like
feel the
something
need.
that I would just dismiss
Okay.
off the face of it because
Well,
it
All right.
sounded
duly
crazy.
Okay, Miss
noted.
G, Miss G.
But
The
Same.
reason
I'll
I
just,
entertained
I
it
mean,
was
Miss
because
G, I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt, but I literally just wasn't paying that much attention, and it's a silly
it went on
accusation.
forever. I don't know how long you need to brush your hair, girl.
Well,
listen,
I
Miss
have
G.
a
It's
she's
baby,
got long
and
hair.
so like I had other stuff to do. I actually don't like being chastised in a space because someone doesn't like the words I didn't say. I actually don't like that. Okay?
I'm sorry. I don't like that. You know what? When I have someone's back publicly in a space,
But I never asked
Well,
or
hey, Miss
expected you to
G,
do
look.
that. You
you're right.
chose
You're
to.
right. I expected too much.
Hold on,
Well,
Miss G,
yeah, go
Miss
ahead.
G, you're not being reasonable here. I mean, this is not a gang, you know, like where we just have everyone's back, right or wrong, or whatever. Like
Well, Richard, the
this is a
difference is,
discussion.
Richard,
I
I don't
look, I
expect it
totally,
from you,
I wasn't
but
there
from
first off.
people who I've had their back,
Well,
I do expect it from. Like
okay,
someone
that's
like Zach,
fine,
who I
but
publicly spoke out
Miss
for,
G,
and
I
maybe
said you're not a
even
BB.
Hannah.
I said you're not a BB stan. I said I've never really heard of Miss G like talking about this before October 7th, and I said we shouldn't put her in that category. And the reason I wanted to hear him continue is because there are a lot of people, not you, on these spaces that are behaving in this very way, and
Yeah, I know, but he was
it's
targeting
unhealthy.
maybe
me.
we should become an actual gang now that I brought it up. Where like in
Yeah,
order
that
to be
sounds
a
fun.
host, you have
I
to
would join
have
a gang
killed
with you,
someone.
Richard.
Richard.
Maybe I'll finally get a
But
follow
I'm
back
just
from
saying,
Richard if
like,
we
I
do
And
would
this.
like
never
you have to
allow.
have like a teardrop tattoo on your
Yeah,
face.
and instead
Yeah,
of naming
that I
5
don't do
cereals,
And then
you have to
if
name
anyone
like
tries
5
to like
smoothie
be a
flavors.
speaker, it's like get the fuck out of here.
No,
You're
but
not
Richard, my
real.
point was, is there are some
We could
people
get
that
face
I have
tats.
publicly spoken out on behalf of here, and
Okay, I get
attested
it.
to
We
their
get it, Miss G.
character.
But if somebody was making legitimate, if they were like, oh, Miss G is a white supremacist because she talks to Richard Spencer, or something that actually could legitimately hold teeth, I would stop. But I would stop them. But Charles has accused everyone in these spaces except for like 3 people of being Likud. You know, like he said that Richard is too Jewish in his thinking. Like, how seriously are we supposed to take this? You know what I mean?
That
And
might be his most
It's not that;
insightful
it's the
comment,
Deathly
threats
actually.
seriously,
that
apparently.
Yeah,
bothered
it's like
me.
that guy
Yeah.
at the AmRen conference. Remember the French guy? He's like, he is like a Jew in the mind. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Oh, did Guillaume Fay say that?
Might have been him. I don't remember.
Oh, someone else did. You know more about Amren than I do. You know, there's a video of Ann Coulter at an Amren conference
How when?
asking
Like
a
in the
question. It's
90s
kind
or
of
something,
interesting.
or what?
Yeah, late 90s. Yeah. It's not that surprising, actually. But anyway, I just
You ever
remember that.
seen
But
that David
you
Duke
know more
clip?
about. There was a French guy who was like, "You are the Jew in the
Yeah,
mind."
he said it in French first. He's like, how do I say? He's like a Jew in the mind, or whatever.
That's kind of like me, though. I think it's a compliment. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean,
Sino
they wrote the
Likud shill
Bible.
confirmed.
You ever seen that David Duke clip where he talks
Richard's
about
clearly Likud.
he's at the AmRen
No, Richard's Mossad. Richard's Mossad.
and he brings up the like the gates of Constantinople and who opened them or something like that. You ever seen that?
Oh, the legend.
Who opened the gates of God? Yeah.
I'm sure you could take a wild guess who he thinks is responsible.
Constantine the 12th.
The gates of Toledo.
Right.
There's some good citations on that claim.
There's actually a person, I think there was an important person named Orban, actually. It's interesting. I remember, I'll have to go look and research this.
Oh, yeah. Orban was the cannon maker for Mehmet II.
Well, yeah, they were Hungarian, right?
Yeah, they were Hungarians that were
Yeah, exactly.
captured.
It's like Viktor Orban is
Yeah, Viktor Orban.
deep bloodlines.
Great.
Yeah, the Turks controlled all those peoples in the South European areas. Yeah, Southeastern Europe.
So is a Turkish conspiracy a rival to the Sino-Likud conspiracy? Is it like, are we witnessing an information gang war happening?
It's the Chinese Sinaloa. What's it called? Chinaloa, as Chuck was saying.
Do you know what I would say here? I mean, like, I don't want to like receive the wrath of a certain person, but there is a point where it becomes like actually schizophrenic, and that is actually a real serious issue. Now, I didn't hear all of this, but just accusing, I mean, I don't want to offend you here, Miss G, but like the idea that you're a secret agent, I mean, that's just a little too romantic. I mean, I don't know if you find that insulting or something. It's just like, it's just bizarre claim.
Yes,
and it strikes
was
me as
bizarre. It was bizarre. And I don't, listen, in a joking manner, I don't mind. He took it a bit too far. He started threatening me, or I've recorded
oh
it.
wow.
But the threats don't hold any water because
he invited you to go to his house, and
he does that to literally
that's not
every
why he invited me to go to his house. He said I was
everyone with
list.
an XX chromosome has like at one point been invited to his house.
And that my accounts are being locked, and inability to Zelle or PayPal or whatever, and Bet Dominich. I said, you're putting me in the same category as that dude? Like,
yeah,
really?
Also, like the benign deep state is like going after the Israelis or something. I mean, this is just bizarre. I mean,
but there's no reason to like get worked up about such things. Like, if you don't care what people think, then why do you care that he said it? And
don't care. I don't care that. What I said was the threats, Hannah. The threats.
But the threats hold no water because none of it holds any water is my thing. Like, it was, he's like, there's a list and people's accounts are going to, it's like, okay, Charles, like, it's, again, if I thought that someone was legitimately, denouncing your character,
from Adam,
then I would have said something. But I really was busy with the baby and brushing my hair and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, it's just Charles accusing everyone of being Likud,
Yeah, but he kept coming at me.
I think
it wasn't everybody, it was me.
Miss G, I think
he did accuse multiple people though, and that's what he does. Like, you're like the 1,000th person I've heard him accuse of this.
Yeah, think of it as like a rite of passage,
Yeah.
Yeah, he insulted me by saying that I wasn't on any list, and he's unaware. So
yeah, he basically told Caroline that she's irrelevant.
Yeah, he told me I was irrelevant. So
that was so rude.
Yeah,
look,
at least
Charles
be Likud or something. Like, come on.
Charles is intelligent. I think he's funny. He's also like a crank, and he's a bigot, like against that particular group. He's crazy.
Charles
so
doesn't like
that's
I
the
don't
mix.
kiss his ass. Is what Charles' problem is.
Someone at Amfest told me that guy's schizophrenic. And that,
can we all agree
I don't know
that? Can we all agree that if, in this context, if someone is being like attacked or whatever, and people don't jump in to defend, it is probably because the people listening don't take what's being said seriously.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're getting with this whole conversation.
Yeah, Miss G is completely overreacting. Like, nobody cares about this. It's irrelevant. No one believes it other than crazy people.
I wouldn't even call it an overreaction.
It's not
like,
you guys. It's the other people who don't know me history that,
well,
maybe
Miss
like,
G, we're not a gang. I mean, it's like I'm sorry, like
No, I'm
you're
not
gonna have to
asking you,
defend yourself.
Richard.
Okay,
But
I
Hannah
do.
and Zag personally, and even Nuance, I have publicly
Nuance was
come
here.
out in a
Nuance did nothing.
space and have in the past spoken on their character on behalf of them because what was being said about them was not true.
I do want to say, Miss G, I was not here for the beginning of that conversation, so I didn't actually understand the context of what was being spoken. But what I can say is there are conversations that I have had with people that we know. Maybe we love them, maybe we don't, depends on who we're talking about. I've had conversations with people offline about interactions that have happened in spaces. And what I can say is that a lot of the time, and this is not just to Miss G, this is to everyone in the room, a lot of the time, when you are the one being spoken to or about, it does feel more serious. And I've had conversations with people that I've had to say, like, hey, I don't think that the rest of the room saw things that way. And I think that if they had seen things the way that you saw them, there would have been a different outcome there. And with a little bit of time, usually people understand that that is the case. But it does feel very personal when it's being said to or about you. I completely get that.
I think also it's just a female thing to be honest. Like women are more sensitive in general. I'm not saying it's always.
Whoa,
But
whoa, 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 whoa.
Wow.
no, I think it's true. I mean, I think men.
I'm just messing with you.
No,
Of
Listen,
course, it's
history.
true.
I'm
Miss
not
G is
messing.
a human being and an underpaid human being at that. I mean, to sit around here generalizing, I mean, ugh, I'm shaking my damn head.
Well, maybe. I just.
Where are you
The way I was
triggered?
raised. The way
I'm
I was
triggered.
raised is that men should be less sensitive to insults of women, and you shouldn't insult women as easily as you would a man. Maybe that's just
Is
my
that how?
peculiar
Yeah,
view.
the
Wow, so
way
you're
you were
raised to be
raised.
sexist, I see.
Exactly.
Depends on the woman. Depends on the woman.
What else did you
Well,
learn?
of course, there's variance, but it's a general rule.
I'm joking. I'm very pro sexism. Like I think it's
Yeah.
very
I know.
good.
I know you guys are joking. It's just fun to engage like a joke type thing. Like seriously.
I'm not a huge fan of like speaking up to defend people either. Like I think people can do it themselves. I would defend Hannah because she's a fellow Christian, and Nuance because he's going to be a fellow Christian someday. But besides that, I
What
won't
about
speak up.
me?
If I
Yeah.
think
Why
it's
not
a real
defend Richard?
accusation,
Andy had many
then
prophecies
I'll
back in Jerusalem.
I'm gonna
about
I'm
that
gonna
very
I'm
day.
gonna start
I've got
sending
a joke. I would
nuanced Jay Smith videos. I'm
if
gonna
I
start
view it
sending
as a
nuanced Jay
real
Smith videos.
accusation or obviously a real threat, then I would defend any of the regulars in the spaces. But no one takes that kind of stuff seriously. I'm sorry that your
Oh,
feelings were
I don't
hurt.
take him
Yeah,
seriously
let's
either.
move
I
on.
mean,
I think we've
he
said
could
we're
research me until the cows come
I
home.
know we're
He's not
repeating
going to
But I
ourselves.
find
don't
it.
like
Let's
being
move forward.
chastised about words I said or
It's
didn't
fine. It's not
All
gonna
say.
right,
happen again.
I think is it
And I
maybe
apologize,
is it
Hannah.
water
I'm
under the bridge
sorry.
at this
And I
point, Ms. G? I
also
mean,
Yeah.
check your DM, apologize to you privately.
Oh,
just
I just got it.
All
I'm
right. We're all
sorry.
friends again. Yay.
if
Yeah,
Okay.
let's
Ms. G, if
move
anyone ever
forward.
accuses you of something, just tell them they're full of it, and that's that. Like, I mean,
Oh, I
it's
kind of did, but he wouldn't shut
yeah.
up.
Hey
Well, I
guys,
mean,
let's
yeah,
please
Charles
move
is.
on.
Yeah,
We
please,
have
I
because
said
he's
think
not
all that
yes,
needs to
working.
be
with
said on this
Charles, the
matter.
more you deny, the more he gets riled up. So just say you're exactly right, and
Yeah.
he'd be like, "Oh
I've
yes."
gotten
All
a
right. I'm going to
couple
ask
All
a
right,
really
pushback
banal
let's
twice
move
question.
on.
Anyone
saying
have
just that,
fun?
yeah.
Really banal, cliche question. Anyone have fun Christmas stuff planned or
Nope.
exciting stuff or no?
Yeah,
Nope.
I drove all the way to California. I just got home, and now I'm in this space. So we'll probably eat some Christmas cookies, and I don't know, do some other cool Christmas stuff. Meet with friends and family, whatever, you know, whatever people do on Christmas.
I'm gonna watch my kids open gifts that aren't from Santa, and it's gonna be glorious.
Praise God.
Praise God, indeed.
So you have an ethical objection to Santa for religious reasons? Or
No, I
no?
don't. I don't really. We don't do Santa. I think the whole thing is like kind of silly and but I mean, we don't like avoid Santa. Like if we're at the mall and he's there, like my kids take pictures with him and they understand that Santa's like a fictional character. We retell the story of Saint Nick punching a heretic. Every Christmas it's a family favorite. We just,
Do you know
it's
what
not
else
that big
Saint
of a
Nick
deal.
did?
And how many kids do you have again?
14.
Oh my god.
That's so many. I just can't. I don't even.
14 and one grandchild and one that's coming any day.
Wow. So is your life just spaces and family, Hannah? Like and
Yeah,
church,
pretty
I'm sorry.
much. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
She's also doing a full-time job recruiting for me as well.
Yes, that's true. Chadical needs to get a job at Walgreens, Kohl's, and the Library of Congress to fix their websites and apps to make my life easier.
Radical's working with the Russians.
It seems like my
Yes, I am.
timeline.
Chadical, what
again.
languages do you know? Like coding languages?
I speak English. I speak Ebonics.
Coding languages?
I speak like a tiny little bit of Spanish.
He speaks
I
a
didn't
little
ask what you
NBA
speak.
talk, a little NBA
I'm
talk.
I said
good
what
with
language. What
I'm
coding
good.
languages do you know?
Yeah, I use a coding language called Swift. It's like the first party Apple language. It's been made
Oh
open
yeah.
source,
Oh,
and
Swift.
so
Yeah,
you can use
Swift.
it for literally like anything
Yeah,
now.
Swift.
Yeah. It's been made available on so many different things. I can use it to make a back end and a front end. I think I can even use it to make an Android app at this point, honestly. I'm not exactly sure. I'm trying to figure it all out.
Cool.
But I've been making a lot of progress on my app today. I did an app yesterday that defined the like the design language that I'm going to use for the app, like kind of the look and feel and colors and things of that sort. And so I did them all in a separate app to kind of create an idea of how it's all going to work. And then what I did is I've been pulling over kind of assets and colors and things from that into the app that I've been making, so it's not just like flat white and flat black on the backgrounds.
Yeah.
And it's got some accent colors and stuff. I'll put a video up in the Jumbo if anybody's curious.
I love that. Chadical's like a carpenter, except he just does code. It's just fantastic. I love that stuff.
So do you work from? I knew someone from college.
Wait a minute, Richard. My timeline's back. I think.
Yeah, same here.
Mine is as well. I just yes, that is good news.
Oh my god! I came on this.
You can go read the Christian Rock article.
Yeah, Arden came on to complain that his timeline disappeared, and lo and behold, it's been restored.
I gotta wake up in the morning for a trial and a long drive back, and I'm thinking I'm the only one that's bugged or hacked or something. And then I heard you guys talk about timeline disappearing. Ironically, it made me feel good that I wasn't the only one. Thank you.
One thing that I would note here. So, did you guys see this Lucas Gage character got banned?
I feel like I've seen the
Yeah,
name.
I did.
I've seen the
There's
name
been a
for
lot
sure.
of
I don't know
spaces
who he
about
is.
him today. There's been a lot of spaces
Well,
about him today.
I've
Grippers
been-
don't really like him because he's got this like big macho, like you got to be willing to risk your life to do this kind of shit. Like if you're not willing to die, then get the fuck out of here. Like it's like a very kind of like I don't know, weird.
But I saw Nick post that he should be reinstated.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, Nick thinks everyone should be reinstated, and I mean, I think he should too. But I mean, it's just like he should carry himself better, is what I would say.
I don't think I know who he is.
Yeah. It's
Well,
just
let me
go ahead.
Look, I've known about this. I've never met him, I don't think, or talked to him, but I've known about him. He was associated with various alt-right groups in the past, and he's always this kind of weird guy. I remember hearing him make these arguments on podcasts and things like that I wasn't. I don't know. He was almost like too cute by half or something. It's like one of these. I remember like many years ago when people would talk about the white genocide meme, and there'd be like, you just say the white genocide meme, and it's why there's only a race problem in white countries, and in Asia and Africa there's they're not telling them to take in more whites, so it's anti-white, and diversity is code word for anti-white. It's a kind of meme that I guess carries some water, but it's just annoying and just reductive and just stupid at some level. But they're just like, you need to be repeating this endlessly. It was just a kind of a bizarre cult. And some of his stuff reminded me of that. And I don't know. But he's been around. But then he blew up on Twitter during the Gaza war. And he would just be totally outlandish and bombastic. And I guess I have to say, I mean, like, don't you think like free speech absolutism and I'm not really talking about crimes like, using free speech to traffic, prostitutes or something or whatever. But I'm just talking about like you can be as just totally bombastic and insane as you want. There does seem to be something very, very bad about that because a lot of people are just stuck in their head. And I mean, just to be fair here, I'm sure that I've thought all the thoughts that Lucas Gage has, in when I'm in a bad mood or, whatever, I'd be like, kill them all or whatever. But I don't post it. And it's this kind of like your id is like plugged into the internet. Just seems to be a really terrible thing, actually.
Yeah, I'm against that as well. So I don't really ever tweet. I just kind of like retweet people's things and kind of use Twitter for spaces and kind of news consumption and stuff. I'm with you completely there. Yeah, I do. It's kind of off-putting to me as well. But I mean,
so I don't know. It's probably, I mean, it might be for his own good, or he might just totally freak out or whatever. I don't know. I don't think, like, I've never said that I'm a free speech absolutist. I probably never would. It's just, I think it's kind of a bad look. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think, I mean, if you, I don't know, go to prison for a crime, I think you should be allowed to have a Twitter account. I mean, I don't think that, I think saying, super controversial stuff should be allowed as well. But I guess it's just a certain, I don't know. I just think there are more layers to it than that. And like plugging someone's id into the internet and just seeing a live feed of your like worst possible thoughts. And it's just, I just think it's a disaster. Actually, I don't think we've like talked about how to deal with this type of issue.
Yeah.
Tactical went back, and I went back and forth for like multiple hours about banning women from the internet, and I was like, nah. But like, I don't know, Tactical. With some of the DMs I'm getting, you're winning. They're winning me over for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, and again, it's not even like, oh, there's no girls who can't handle it or whatever. It's just like the mass majority of them seem to not being able to be, or they seem to not be able to handle it, and this is kind of the problem.
Well, but does the average man? I mean, you heard me do a sexism 10 minutes ago, so I'm not like chiding you. I'm perfectly capable. But is the average man really operating at a more dignified or intellectual level than a woman?
Well, I mean, again,
that's a bit
it's
much.
the question, right? Because I think that a lot of men are tempted by women, and I think that men and women on the internet together is kind of like what do you call this? Like a hyper realized instance of the world. You're kind of just like in everyone's pocket when you're on the internet in one way or another. And so I think that it like lends itself well to this more childish interaction between the sexes, kind of this pursuit of like, lustfully hedonistic desires and not like, things that are generative and angled towards building strong families in both ways. But again, I mean, it's like if the girls aren't opening their legs, then the guys aren't going to get laid unless they're going to rape them, at which point the guys will go to jail. So it's like, really, you got to keep the gates closed. And I think that like that ultimately would like...
I think this is a really extreme formulation, bro.
Well, I mean, again, it's
like
this
is a very...
Well, I think it's actually an inverse of the power. I don't hold the position that women actually hold the sexual power in society, because I just don't think that's actually how it works. I will say though, I hear from
about who gets laid, or is it women?
You decide if you're going to ask or not.
Well, yeah,
and women are naturally prone to wanting to please you. That like we're created that way.
Well, yes and no.
No, this is how God made us. The Bible says so.
Well, okay, but women are naturally very picky.
Actually, Nietzsche says
well,
so
they want to
too.
please guys that they like.
women think that like
The guys they respect,
97%
right?
of men are ugly or something.
There's
It's like
tons
a
of women that are
statistic.
like dating or married to guys they don't respect and they don't want to please them.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will
Or
say
what are
though that
you
How
like
does that
referencing
happen?
with
How
Nietzsche?
does that even happen?
I'd have
Like
to go back and
It
find it.
happens
There
a
was a
lot,
quote that I
Wenn
was
du mit
like,
dem Weiben bleibst, vergesst
Like
du
I
nicht deine
yeah, I
Peitsche.
don't know why.
It's
I don't know why as a woman you would
when you hang
do
out with
that.
women, don't forget the whip. Although that was a rather ironic statement, and that was made by Zarathustra as well, not Nietzsche himself. But there's actually a famous photo of Paul Ray and oh God, what was I have COVID brain. I just like lose names in my mind. Who was the woman who like dated Freud for a while?
Helen Keller. It's Helen
No,
Keller.
Helen Keller. No.
Anne Frank.
She was quite a looker. She was like a Russian immigrant and this intellectual and
Was that Anne Frank?
fascinating. You
I
don't
get it
know
mixed
this
up. I don't
history?
know.
Anyway, fascinating woman. But she's holding a
Angelina
whip
Jolie.
and whipping Nietzsche. It's a famous photo. But
Yeah.
anyway, their correspondence is pretty funny. It's basically like DMs.
What's the saying? Hold the rod, spoil the child, or something like that.
Hold the line.
spare the
Hold
rod,
the line.
spare the rod,
Spare the
spoil the
rod, spoil the
child.
child. Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta
It's kind of
beat your
funny.
kids when they do stuff wrong. I'm not saying
Yeah,
like kill
I mean,
them,
my
but
parents
like
did that.
they're not
Guys,
It's
gonna learn.
okay.
guys, no.
I couldn't do
Okay,
that to
the point
children. I really couldn't.
the point that I was trying to get at was that like I do get a lot of women who talk to me, they complain about like guys in their DMs, like they talk to them, whatever. Some of them are married too. And
Then
this is
get
just not
offline. Get offline.
if I could finish my point, Luca.
No,
Like
that's
this
the
is
correct answer.
this is not
Lucas.
an issue. This is not an issue like I've ever had. I've never gotten one dirty DM ever. And so like I'm sorry, like if you conduct yourself properly, this is just not something that men are gonna do.
Well, you're
Does
also
anyone
a
know what you
cartoon.
look like?
Hannah, no offense, but you're a cartoon. People don't know what
That's
you
not
look
true.
like.
Yeah, you don't have your face
No,
So-
censored.
no. Wait, there are people who know what I look like.
I mean, I sent Hannah nudes.
I have no
guess
idea
they
what
just
you
never
look like.
showed up.
I know what Hannah looks like, but that's just because I'm like techie and kind of I'm resourceful. But I mean,
Cool. Yeah,
I get
I don't
everybody's
know.
doxes. I don't want to. I would never put them out there though. I'm just like
No,
I'm
dude. I mean,
curious.
this is
I'm
just like
curious.
what it
I'm
means to
curious,
be a
Sam.
woman. To be a woman on the internet is to get weird DMs, unfortunately. So, like, if you can't, first of all, as a guy, you should like trust your wife not to do anything like that. Like, you should trust her to be on the internet and be like resourceful and respectful. But if that's like not an option, then maybe you just get off the internet. Like maybe if she has a problem with it, she should just leave. If she like really needs the attention or something. Well, why is the attention of the husband not good enough? Like, there's a lot of questions to be had there.
So Hannah, a question for you because I actually have never thought about this very much. When women get all these messages, is it just what's the reaction? Is it indifference? Is it intimidating? These guys are interested in me sexually. That's creepy. Or is it like flattery? Oh, I'm pretty. I'm getting attention. Like, what is the typical? Because I really don't know. What is the typical reaction?
A lot of times I read it. A lot of times it's like a humble brag almost. Like they claim that it like makes them uncomfortable, and some of them are like legitimately creepy. But some of these women, just based on what they post and how they post, it feels like they kind of like it, even though they are like, oh, this is so creepy. But who knows? It's a mixed reactions. Unless you're like clearly attractive, and then they're like, oh, I want, maybe I can travel to meet him. And then it's like, oh no, girl, maybe you shouldn't.
If you're like married to someone and they're even like saying stuff like that as like a joke, it's like, okay, well, maybe.
Well, no. I don't I've never had a married woman say that to me. Yeah.
But
Now
there are married
I
women that would
do
do stuff
know
like that.
I do know a woman who claims to be a trad wife and was going to hook up with a guy, that she met on Twitter and had done it before. And I, would never say anything, but it's like, yeah, okay, enjoy your trad life.
Yeah, that's just like gross. It's gross stuff.
Oh yeah, Luca.
Yeah, I just don't
How
like
old are
fake
you?
people.
Like 22?
23.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
He's a baller. He's a baller.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't meet you in real life, Richard. I met Kaylin. We had fun.
Yeah. No, Luke is a
I'm not saying
fantastic
you're not
person.
fun. I'm just saying that.
Everyone says I'm a cool guy.
He is a cool guy. You are a cool
Okay.
guy.
All I'm saying is some of this high and mighty stuff is, I don't know, a little bit incredible coming from a
Why?
23-year-old.
Why? Do you think I have sex before marriage?
I don't know you, but are you that
Okay.
disciplined?
Yeah.
Okay. So you
I
are
don't
you
think it's
married?
that. I really don't think it's that difficult.
Based.
Yeah, a lot of the abstinence stuff was it was meant for when people were getting married a lot younger. I don't know. It's not like you should become a priest. I mean, it's a definitely
It
Explain
was
that.
this is
also
a
historically.
Richard,
I'll
explain
make one
that
quick
though.
point. It was
reason,
even
but
though
Richard, explain that though, because you're saying like people were getting married younger, so were they having sex younger too? What are you
they
talking
were
about?
having, well, marriage. There's tons of sex in marriage. I don't think anyone. I mean, hopefully, I don't
No,
think
I'm
anyone would
just saying
dispute
like
that.
if people, what age were people getting married at in what you're referring to, and
Guys,
then
look, I think I made this reference like a few episodes ago, but do you mean country matters, my lord? I think that's the line from Ophelia to Hamlet. So country matters, it's roll in the hay, but there's also the pun on country matters. um I'm just using that as one example in the world's most famous piece of literature to express the fact that people got around. I mean, I've also read the Bible, and there was a lot of sex there. People don't know this. Maybe
well,
more people would read the Bible if
yeah,
they
no
point
one
I
did.
want to make
denies
really
that there's
quick.
So,
Okay,
like, I'm
Kaylin.
just
Yes,
saying,
the
like,
Bible notably portraying polyamorous relationships in a positive light. Of course, this is all over the Bible.
I mean, is
Okay,
David?
Luca, that's not actually the
Solomon
point
was
that
a
he was
straight up pimp.
making.
Solomon was a straight up pimp, and he was like, nah.
That was not seen as a good thing.
Yeah, he was just like,
Well,
he
I
wrote
mean,
Ecclesiastes,
it's a
and it
little
was like,
bit
yo, all this is
ambiguous, to be
meaningless.
honest. And I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to bore Hannah here because I brought this up, but I mean, is Abraham a good person? Is he shown in a good light in the Bible, Luca?
Oh no, you
Abraham
should.
was counted as righteous by God
Not when he
because he
slept
believed
with a
God.
concubine.
Well, he did a little more than that, and he kind of brought his wife along for the ride, and they
His
toured
wife,
Egypt.
his wife
So
said,
I don't. All I'm saying, I'm not claiming that, like, from a Christian viewpoint, sex
The
before marriage
patriarchs were
isn't a
not
sin
perfect
or
people.
bad. I'm
It's
not
kind of like
claiming
a
that.
part
I'm
of it.
just I hear this from the Groyper types, and it's like they want to become a priest, and
Well, I'm pretty pro
that's not the whole.
celibacy in
That's not the
general.
idea. Like
Yeah.
you're missing the
Yeah.
point.
actually, Richard, I'd like to know, like, what is your opinion, like, on the Groypers? I would love to know that. Or Nick Fuentes. I would love to know that
I
too.
want to make a really quick point, and then I'll let you answer that, Richard. But I just want to interject really quick and say this whole like celibacy thing for men specifically is rather anachronistic in 20th century. Of course, church teaching condemns sex before marriage for men, just as it does for women. But traditionally in the Catholic Church, you see this with Augustine, Aquinas. Prostitution was tolerated. It was expected. It's sinful, but men will stray, and virginity is prized in women. You see this today in the Islamic world as well. Now, it's an equal sin in Islam for men to have sex before marriage than women, right? They can get lashed under traditional Islam, but socially there's much more tolerance. So it's kind of some weird fusion of that, even though it
No,
isn't at some level.
prostitution was not successful or acceptable.
No, it was not. It was not morally acceptable, but it was considered. It was they advocate. Augustine said it should be legal. Aquinas said it should be legal because of this notion that men are going
Sure,
to
they had a different
wander
view.
sexually.
They had a different
No.
view to church and state at the time. It's just
Okay,
like
sure. They're not saying it's clearly a sin, just like it's a sin in
Yeah.
Islam.
Yeah.
In Islam, for you to go today, if
there's
you're
different
Saudi,
levels
to
to sins.
France and find
Sins
a
are not
No,
equal.
let me finish my point though. The really strong social emphasis on celibacy is equal for men and women. Yes, you can definitely find that justification logically in Christian teaching, but it is rather new and it's not really trad in some sense, even though it
No,
is a representation.
moderate asceticism is all over the early church fathers.
No, we're not talking about asceticism. We're talking about as a
No, we
general
are.
social
That's
norm.
to do with
No, but that,
asceticism
of course,
has to do with
that's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? That's considered a good thing. But for society as a whole, a social expectation on men to be celibate until marriage that did not exist in the same way as it did for women. This is
Yeah, they
a
had to
new
be
thing.
abstinent until marriage.
I just
Listen,
I have you guys read the Bible? I mean, it's just. I mean, I don't know
we're just
what
going
to
to disagree
say.
on the relation between the church and state here, fundamentally. I
What do
mean,
you mean the church and state?
Christian men were expected to wait until marriage.
No, they weren't. It was considered a sin, but
Yes,
they really
they were.
weren't.
Yes, they were. You're wrong. Yes,
Socially,
they were.
go to a
The world
Muslim,
was
go to
not.
our,
You're
go
reading
to a
Augustine
traditional,
wrong. Augustine doesn't think everybody in the Roman Empire was a Christian.
Right. Go to a genuinely trad country today, like Armenia or say
It says nothing
Jordan.
No,
No,
you're
it
totally
does.
obfuscating.
And there is
No,
way
I'm
more
talking about the
tolerance.
church. I'm talking about church discipline.
They understand.
Luca, you're just claiming things that are just obviously ahistorical.
No, you know nothing about what you're talking about. If a Christian man engaged in sexual relations
in the Middle Ages, it was not.
Let me finish. If a
met with the
Christian
same
man
social
engaged in
opprobrium, it was
sexual
not.
relations before marriage, he would have been excommunicated from the community unless he repented.
That's completely
That
ridiculous.
is just
absurd,
what
do you mean it's completely ridiculous? Have you read any of the patristics on this issue?
I'm not talking about some early church father that you as a Catholic
That's what I'm talking. But that is
deified.
what I'm talking.
I'm talking about human behavior over the past 2,000 years.
That's not what we're talking about.
Judge, for a second,
Well,
you brought up.
No, that's precisely what I'm talking about.
No,
Because
we're talking
doctrinally,
about
you're correct.
We're talking about what Christians should be expected to do.
Well, yeah, but I'm sure you can find that. You can find some interesting stuff in Origen. Are you going to follow him as your leader as well?
Origen was a complete ascetic. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. He cut his own balls off, man. That's the joke.
What a loser.
That was probably
listened to
slanderous.
friggin'.
Can I ask Caleb a second here? Can I ask Luca a question? Luca, can I ask you a question, Luca? Luca,
it's not true.
Luca, can I ask you a question?
We're not saying
Luca, no hate here. No hate here, Luca. No, let's just be serious. Have a normal intellectual discourse.
Sure.
Okay. Luca, I have a question to you, Luca.
Let me make this.
No, Kaiser.
Christians at a minimum.
Luca, let me just ask the question first, please.
No, Kaiser.
Please.
At a
Do you
minimum,
Luca,
consider?
you're just going to say the same thing over and over
Luca,
again. Just let Kaiser speak.
Luca, do you consider Charlemagne, who was crowned?
No, I don't consider him. No, I don't.
But he was crowned emperor
by
the Pope.
You consider the
by
church
the Pope.
fathers?
No, I agree with Nietzsche. I think Christendom's ridiculous.
No, but look, Luca, do you consider Charlemagne a good Christian?
No, I don't.
But he was crowned by the Pope. By the Pope.
I don't care.
Okay, Luca is basically above the Pope.
Are you
here.
a Catholic,
all right.
Luca?
No,
I'm like
Luca's
an
a Unitarian.
I'm like a Unitarian.
The Pope is.
But you sound like a Catholic. All this
Papacy
talk of the
is
church
blasphemy.
What am I
fathers,
saying?
this is like
What am I saying? It sounds Catholic.
Secret papist.
Well, you're using the
Christians at a
church
minimum-
fathers as some great authority. This is
Christians
just like
at
the
a
essence
minimum.
of
Christian. We
papacy.
get it, Richard. Thank you. You're so smart. Oh my God. You read one Bart Ehrman
Luca,
article.
stop
Now
being
you
a
think
little
everything.
fucking bitch, man.
Yeah, Luca.
No,
Luca.
You know the Cambridge separation of Yahweh from Elohim in the Old Testament. You're really high IQ.
Okay, Luca, one quick point. Very simple.
Hey, Luca,
point.
I think
This is like
actually
how I
you
would
need
talk
to
to
be
my
bullied
teachers
a
when
little
I was a
bit, my
junior in
boy.
high school.
Richard, don't get too mad at him. I want to just ask him a simple question. Luca, I'm sure you've read enough that you know
I
that
removed
Aquinas.
him because
well, whatever.
Because once he gets to this stage, like for about 20-30 minutes, he'll discuss the points, and then he'll set in with the "You're retarded. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot." Yeah, and then it. I don't know, Luke. I mean, if you can compose yourself, you can come back up. But if you
look, my only point was there's a difference between theological teaching. What is a sin? Clearly, premarital sex is a sin in Christianity, as in Islam, and what society is expected and condemn people for over the generations, and do now, even in a trad society like Armenia or Jordan. And there's much more condemnation of women having premarital sex. And in like this kind of modern Christian, this kind of 21st century America, it's equal. And it's kind of this, you can say it's a more faithful adherence to the literal teaching, you could argue that, but it's also kind of a quasi-feminist equality thing too, because it's a change from what Augustine and Aquinas thought.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that in the Orthodox Presbyterian Church, the Presbyterian Church of America, Reformed Baptist, there's no egalitarianism when it comes to premarital sex. Like, we view it as all reprobate and debased before God. And to Richard, I wanted to mention something that you had mentioned earlier about sex being present throughout the Old Testament. That's true, and you brought up King David. And you can see from David's promiscuity, particularly, I think it's in, let me pull it up here. It's in 2 Samuel 12, the judgment that God pronounced upon David for his promiscuity.
Yeah,
Mike is
we're
so
talking
bad,
past each
bro.
other though. Like, let me lay out what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that a Christian man, at the very minimum, would have been expected to not engage in sex until marriage. And they probably would have been expected to go further. I mean, Paul talks about celibacy as a higher gift. If you have this gift, you are actually seen as more holy. And this is why
Luca,
He does say
it isn't
that.
relevant to you
this
that
is why moderate asceticism was so popular.
Okay, Luca, Aquinas and Augustine are important figures in the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, but
They advocate legal
But you're
prostitution
talking
because
past me. You're talking past me. I'm not talking about the state.
Okay.
I'm not talking about laws.
All right. Sure, it's
I'm
a sin.
talking
Yeah,
about
sure.
civil
I'm
government.
interested in how people behave.
I don't care about that.
Though in
We're
traditional
talking about the
society.
church.
Wait,
right?
what you're arguing, Luca, is that they advocated for a little bit, not too much, promiscuity and legal prostitution because they considered
didn't.
most people in the. God damn it,
Luca, are you allowed
have
to
got
Within
to
the New
stop
Covenant
this.
community,
No one
they
is going to
didn't. You're wrong.
respect you.
You're wrong.
All right, I'm not talking to you, Luca.
I just want to point
you're
out.
just this is you need to be
I don't
bullied.
care
This
about
is the
the world.
problem
Why
with
do you
kids
keep
these
talking
days.
about what they thought?
Richard, can I just point? Okay, wait a second. I have to mute everyone. I just want to point out that I'm the greater Christian here because I de-blocked Luca so that he can participate in the space. Otherwise, he would have disappeared. Luca still has me blocked. So who's now the bigger Christian here in the sense of the true God here? Luca, maybe start a little bit. Be reflective. Be reflective about you.
It's very simple. You want.
Amen.
Thou shalt unblock thy neighbor.
It's really simple. If you engaged in premarital sex, you would not be a part of the church in good standing. You would have to repent or you would be excommunicated. It's that simple, okay? Yeah, you might be right about what they thought the state should do, right? Because they understand that there's a difference between Christians and normal people. That's obvious. So yeah, I mean, that's just a part of two kingdoms theology. So
I mean, Luca, there's a by the book how people should be and how people are.
I'm talking about the church. I'm not talking about.
I'm talking also about the church. And yes, the church. I mean, look at the history of the popes, of the bishops.
The church was a community. The church was an all-encompassing.
I mean, we all know a bishop shall not have children, but so many bishops until the 1800s had children. Look up, take a book, Luca.
They're married.
Yeah, so what's your point actually then, Luca?
I don't believe in priestly celibacy what are you talking about? I'm not Catholic.
Well, so you're a Unitarian. What is your church?
You're just poisoning the well right now. We're having a debate.
What is your church, Luca? You sound a lot like a Catholic, but you're...
It's the Church of God General Conference.
Hold on. Let me say. I'm sorry to interrupt. Let me say something because Charles selectively edited a video I did when I was in college, which he's a fucking faggot. I don't give a shit. This is recorded to make me. I was comparing the outrage of white nationalism to what it is in reality. So in other words, I was saying it was exaggerated. So he splices the piece out when I essentially said that Richard Spencer, compared to other people, is really small on the left. In other words, the right out. He's such a fucking disingenuous.
I'm personally insulted, Boxing, for this after this revelation.
I'm sorry.
You're diminishing my power.
No, I know. I was saying that Linda Sarsour. This was in 2016, I guess. I don't know exactly. Yeah. I was in college, and I was how immigration and how they use Charlottesville to, I guess, push. I don't even know what the fucking video was. I was a kid. I was so he splices it to where I said, "Oh, Richard, like Spencer, the white nationalist, like I don't know, whatever. Not that many people know him. Essentially, that's all I said." And he spliced
I think
that
we're
H
in a
coming.
different. Sorry to interrupt you, Box. I think we're in a different epoch. I think people are caring less about this gotcha stuff. I
No,
would
no,
just
no,
brush
no.
it off.
I mean, I just think
Well,
that.
some are. I'd say it's
Boxing,
like
let me ask you,
50%
have
of
you
people
been
care about
working
it
with
now
Miss
still.
G?
No, I mean it's just no. I mean, Zach, if this is you want to have people going and splicing shit, like I mean, if that's something you want to do, that's fine. But like, I mean, to think that I'm a fucking agent because I was in college making a random. I mean, look at my videos. You could even see it. They're all boxing videos, and I make one video on immigration. It's a fucking conservative
Wait,
video.
are you
Like,
worried? Are
it's
you worried about him? I thought you were worried about him calling you a racist for like professional reasons. You're worried about him calling him
Boxing.
agent.
The real question is,
oh,
Why
I
would
mean,
you
you
worry
can put
about
my
that?
name and then
when
you
were
can
you
go to my
officially
corporate. Yeah,
activated? That's
yeah,
the.
I've always been worried about that. No, I mean, no, like exposing my name, splicing a video, and then going to an employer. Yeah, I mean,
I
you
I
have to
wouldn't
decide what.
worry
say,
about
look,
it,
look. I
Do
honestly.
am
you have a comb that? No,
semi-doxxed.
no.
You haven't
I'm
said
gonna make one
anything
point.
that's
I'm
Do you have a
objectionable.
comb
semi-doxxed.
that?
I
No, no,
have
no.
students. Okay, I'm gonna make one really quick point. I am
You
semi-doxxed.
shouldn't.
I teach at a fucking university. I mean, just a PhD student. I'm not a professor or anything, but I have students. Some of them know they know I've talked to Spencer before on the Holocaust Now thing. Sometimes you just have to go do your life, and people don't actually care that much. Yeah, they'll say
No,
something,
but
Yeah.
he
so
had
they'll
to
get
sit
mad.
there
But
and comb that video.
people do
You don't
not really
understand.
care that much.
I haven't looked at those
Yeah.
videos
Hey,
in like
boxing.
6 years.
Listen,
Don't
I
worry
think you're
about it.
fine,
You're
man.
fine.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
No,
you're
but
fine.
why
Trust
do
me,
he have
dude.
to sit there and comb the
Boxing,
video? All right,
boxing,
whatever. I'll
boxing,
move on.
boxing.
I,
What
I
you
think
need to
you're
do,
fine. Yeah.
what you need to
Yeah.
do is if something happens, like if he keeps doing it, then like troll him back. Like ask him if he wants a dick pic too or something like that.
I mean,
I was told that there was somebody from Newsweek
That's your
writing an
answer to
article
everything,
about me.
Jackal.
Well, I mean, again, it's just like, well, I mean, there's a million things you could offer them as like extra evidence or whatever. But I was told that somebody from Newsweek is doing an article about me or something like that and my antics on Spaces. I haven't gotten any confirmation from this. It just seems to be through the weeds. But so I tweeted Newsweek the other
Why, dude?
day.
That makes no sense. You
Yeah,
have
no,
like you have
exactly. Yeah, no,
3,000 followers.
exactly.
You have
That's my
3,000
point.
followers.
Yes, exactly. That was my point
Yeah,
too. I
this
was
is
thinking,
not
dude, I
true. This is
fucking
not
know
gonna.
one.
No one cares about you that much.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what
I
went through
care
my
about you
mind.
that much,
It's
Chad. Well, don't
exactly what
listen
went
to
through.
Luca.
Well, that's exactly what went through my mind. Anyway, but so, again, the thing is it's like, take the spotlight, maybe not like double down, but just kind of like
yeah. I mean,
ridicule the attacks or whatever. It's kind of
I
what it
mean,
is.
listen, it just takes a lot of effort and energy to go through. He had to
Oh
go
yeah,
so
100%.
far
Or
into
you can
the
just turn the
video.
phone off.
I mean,
Well, I get
listen,
it.
Charles
It's just
told me
kind
I
of weird,
wasn't
but
a real
anyway,
wasp once. You gotta just
it
roll
is
with the
what it is.
punches. Who cares? I won't lie, it did get under my skin. He has a way of
Sorry
doing
to
that
interrupt you.
Has
successfully, but
anybody
who
seen what's
cares?
happened here? Has anybody bothered to notice? So this Linda Yaccarino woman was really, she's a real bat out of hell in a bad way. Now listen, there's a new policy now on X. It's called labeling. And basically, I got a label. One of my posts was labeled today. And it's not like community notes. It's like a strike against you. And if they find that you do this often enough, they'll eventually lock your account temporarily. And then they'll permanently or temporarily suspend it, whatever. So I'm trying to
What is
figure
an
out.
example of what's an
Yeah, what was
example
your
of
post that
labeling?
got
What is
labeled?
that?
Just go to. I can't upload anything because I probably have to restart the app. So there was a Yemeni source today that said the Houthis and the Yemeni Navy were going to start deploying sea mines, and a lot of accounts were saying that, and people didn't like it because some accounts were saying, this is what happens because of blah blah blah, and lots of these accounts got flagged with a label. So basically, if they don't like your post and enough people come together with credibility, the post will get flagged. And it says that if you do this often enough, they'll lock your account. And then finally, they'll remove it. So I don't think we're all along on this app, many of us. Especially, it's going to be frustrating. There'll be a lot of calls to the credit card company. Hey, I paid and I was removed. But yeah, I mean... not very
Isn't this like
not
easy
very good.
target for trolls, Zag?
I don't know what it is, Miss G, but I think certain people are going to get targeted who sort of promote a different agenda or shared certain news items that aren't really well received or appreciated. Your account's just going to start getting flagged.
So much for freedom of speech.
Yeah.
So it says you're
Well, I
sharing
mean, that's what happened on
synthetic,
my account
manipulated, or
for
out of
other reasons
context.
because I attacked
Yeah, that's what
Wikipedia.
they're gonna get you with. That
I mean,
No,
synthetic
for
media.
not for
That's a
out
hell
of
of an
not for
eerie
my place.
term,
I
isn't
was
it?
I
synthetic
was in here
media.
We're in the age of
I want to
AI.
say an hour ago, and G was being called a spy by Chuck. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. This
no,
guy,
but
why does this guy get away with
I'm
this
an
stuff?
Israeli asset now. Like, who
Yeah,
thought?
why does he get away with this shit? He
You
just
were. It
says
was
random
boxing
stuff.
and Miss G all along.
I mean,
Yeah, it was me.
there's nobody that's ever Jewish that has
I
like a
told him
slight.
dig, brother, and
Well,
when he's done digging, I expect a public
You're not.
apology.
Aren't you like Italian?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not even like what the fuck.
Maybe he's coming
Roman
after you because
Catholic
Italians are
Italian.
black. Maybe that's what he's
I mean,
thinking.
at least I have a nice tan in that video too. I'm pretty lean.
Yeah, post in the
Boxing, I'm
Jumbotron.
curious. So you're super into boxing, or are you a boxer yourself? I just thought it was weird.
He invented boxing.
I invented boxing. No, I boxed when I was really young, and in college I started competing again. And when I was kind of transitioning and from, like the political science and history into medical school, I had like a little bit of like a gap year, and during that time I've kind of worked a little bit for this boxing company. It's like a Twitter, like YouTube thing. And that's kind of when I like started a Twitter. Before that, I never used Twitter. So yeah, for boxing and stuff like that, it was like a little like hobby thing. I got paid for it. I got to go to some good, big, like decent sized fights for free and sit on the ring. It was like a little hobby I did kind of in college. That's pretty much it. Yeah, but no, I competed like amateur again in college. But other than that, yeah, no. I mean, I did it when I was younger and like Golden Gloves, and then I competed in college.
Oh wow!
A little
So
bit,
you definitely have a background in this. Wow.
I mean, me background enough. I mean, I played soccer more too as well, but I mean, I'm not a pro boxer. Those guys are,
Well, yeah, I didn't. I didn't ask if you're a professional boxer. I was just curious. I mean, I think it is cool. I've watched a lot of boxing history videos, and it's fascinating, but it's just so brutal. I mean, I could not imagine doing it. One of the
history
things that I looked
Jewish
into was
American
like
boxers.
Mickey.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right, there is a history. Yeah, I watched this thing on Mickey Rourke. Actually, I've also watched like history of Rocky and all these guys in the '80s and
Chuck Wepner, wasn't it? After right, that's who the movie's made after, somebody like that.
I don't know, but okay. I was watching like Marciano, kind of like 1950s. It was that was pretty amazing because they were doing like huge amounts of rounds. I mean, he knocked Joe Louis out of the ring, and the guy. I mean, it was just like a gladiatorial battle at that point.
A few years ago, Bernard Hopkins got knocked out of the ring in like a big fight against this Italian guy. I forgot his name. He literally he hit his head on the cement. Happened a few years ago.
God! Yeah, no, I mean, it is the sweet science, and I admire it, but there's something. I mean, like football is pretty rough, but I mean, boxing. I mean, I don't know. I watched this video on Mickey Rourke, who of course played the wrestler, but he went into the ring himself and was basically just a tomato can for like a decade.
Richard, I don't know. I mentioned this before, but I was literally at the fight. You could look it up. Pritchard Cologne. I was sitting there. I met him before the fight on his weigh-ins. He's the one who had he was a vegetable. He literally died in front of the ring. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Oh my God. Yeah, he was getting rabbit punches to the back of the head. It was pretty shocking to watch, but yeah.
Boxing, didn't he walk out of the ring?
Like I met his
didn't he walk out of the ring on his own 2 feet though?
Somebody die. And then of course he was a Puerto Rican guy, and it was like in like DC area, it was hood, and all these black guys were like, "Yeah, man, he being a pussy. He being a pussy." I'm like, dude, you guys are. This was, by the way, this is in the boxing media section. These are journalists, right? Wow. And their reaction to him quitting during the fight, and it looked weird. His like gait was off, if you know what that means. He kind of had like a weird, like, yeah. So it's a brutal sport, and I also saw these guys, when they're doing the medical checks before, these like Mexicans, they were not really passing the medical tests, and the doctors, they were like, listen, like it's either like he gets paid $45,000 here, or he like works salon for like $20,000 a year. I'm like, this is a brutal fucking sport, man.
Yeah, that's brutal. I mean, isn't that the umpire's job? I mean, I did see something about like someone getting rabbit punched in the head. Like, I mean, shouldn't that be stopped? I mean, just for the sake. I mean, boxing would be banned if it becomes like a a blood sport.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, and I mean the only reason it was his coach. I think his coach is really fucked up because he quit in the corner. It was like really hard to tell because he wasn't getting like his head smashed in like one of those like Mickey Ward whatever fights but it was just like a weird thing. But
Yeah, no, well, I'll remember not to get in a fight with you. So maybe I'll lighten up on my Israel takes.
So boxing, you're a physician, right? Boxing?
Yes. You want to know my hospital that I work at too?
No. I'm not trying to die. I'm being friendly. You're interesting, kind of.
No, you're fine.
How did you get into right wing or like let's say right of center politics? And
I mean, I've always been like conservative. Like, I mean, there was like 10 minutes like when I was like a freshman in college that I was like maybe a sophomore in college that I was like dating this girl that was like super hot and like more progressive and like I was into like partying and whatever.
She's a
like,
little,
you know what?
huh?
It's the quickest way to get pussy.
You were kicked out of your Christian community, is what you were saying.
No.
This is when you decided to become
I need
Jewish.
help.
You also have to understand, like, how many years ago is that? Maybe like 10
Ms.
years
G, you
ago?
can send me a message. I can help you out if you need.
10 or 12 years ago, like being liberal was like way different. it was way different. It was like
that's true, but what do you think of this though? I mean, I anecdotally think because I'm somebody who's like semi-doc, so some people in my my institution know who I am, and so I know I've said these outrageous things, not really that outrageous, but whatever. And I feel like
you've done anything objectionable. I don't know why you're worried about being doxxed.
I'm actually not worried about it, but I'm giving an argument here. But I think that especially since in the last 2 years, and especially since October 7th, the woke scolding on racial issues and so on, and I kind of dissenting views or right of center views on these things has really gotten softer. I mean, is that just me projecting?
What do you mean?
It seems like there's less cancellation and aggression and attacks on people with right of center views on race or affirmative action or crime than there was
I mean,
2 or 3 years ago. And especially
Twitter?
since October 7th. No, in real life, in the world. Like, if you are publicly saying, hi, I disagree with affirmative action, I'm at a university, it seems like there's less attacks and vilification. In other words, the cancel culture, to use the banal term, seems weaker to me. Is it just me? I don't have data on this, but it really seems like that.
When's the last time a prominent figure in like
that's a good,
I guess objective institution went on TV and said, Ron DeSantis didn't even say this, I think he's a political fucking pundit, and said there's a problem with black crime in this country. Nobody said that. So until they say that and don't get canceled,
but you can put
the
things
National Justice Party.
But you can put things.
But boxing, guys, I have a question, man. I mean, boxing, certain things I don't say suspicious, I don't want to say that word, but it really sticks out. You have a certain fetish or almost obsession with black crime, man. Like you always bring it up.
It's a problem, Kaiser.
No, but it's a second, guys, a second, man. I'm not
you
talking black.
See something all the time.
Fuck me! Can I just finish? It's not about black crime. It's all black. And you know what's suspicious here? Because honestly, man, if you are yourself from an ethnic minority, actually, I mean, honestly, man, it sticks out to me. It sticks out to me. I have to say,
these are non-Americans. These are when Germans that don't know shit about living in America, understanding living in I work in a very, very, very black area.
I did not say that, man.
And crime.
No. Don't gaslight me here, man. Don't gaslight me, boxing. What I'm saying is, you are generalizing. My point is very specific. You're generalizing. And you say, if you're from an ethnic minority who was the victim of being generalized, actually, you should be more, let's say, not so generalizing, I would say. And it sticks out with you, boxing.
Why?
I have to say it, man.
Why does it matter?
I'm just saying what I think. Okay,
Okay, we heard you.
That's all I'm doing.
Hey, Kaiser,
Hey, quick question. Chad, does my mic sound better?
Yeah, a little bit. But keep talking while I'm talking. I want to see if it cuts your mic out.
All right, I'll start talking while you're talking. Is it doing better?
Holy shit, so much. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's not like perfect yet. It sounds like you have a lot of like reverb in your room. So I don't know, like maybe
I am in the garage squatting right now, so that might be it.
But the microphone waves.
Did you order some of those earbuds that I sent you the link to?
I went and I found them at Best Buy, so I bought them.
Okay, right on.
Yeah. All right.
So
dude, it sounds a lot better. Congrats.
Okay. All right, Kaiser. So what is your actual question? What is your actual question? I'm just trying to understand what you're trying to say. I mean, you don't like. What are you trying to say? Like,
You know,
that I minimize like illegal immigration crime because I think black crime's higher? Yeah. I mean, what's your point?
It is.
I've said. I mean, like, I mean, I'm just I'm a pretty objective person when it comes down to it. Like, I mean, if I thought,
Boxing does go after the blacks from time to time. So.
I mean, I've had that. I made that
I
observation as well, boxing, but I kind of just wrote it off as, well, yeah, he lives in Florida,
I live
so
in
of
an
course
area where
that's
it's
going to
kind
be
of
his
like the deep
opinion.
south in a way, and some areas are really fucking bad. And I mean, unless you've been in there, Kaiser, to understand it, like most people that live in America understand, that is what's causing the crime in my area specifically. Now, if I lived in Los Angeles, it may be Mexicans or Spanish. I don't know. I'm just saying, Kaiser, like, there's a big divide between my safe area and the area that's not really safe. And if you
He's
would
just
live here,
saying, Kaiser, it's never the whites.
That made me laugh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No,
That's not
I
what
mean,
he's saying.
sometimes.
okay, let me make one
okay,
point.
one
No,
second.
guys,
History.
guys,
History.
I'm
No,
gonna
a
defend you
second to
2%.
specify.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Heinemann
I
Newton.
just what all I'm saying is, boxing. I get where you're coming from. I'm not talking about crime and all that, but you have a certain obsession, black. What I'm saying is, you as yourself from an ethnic minority which has been persecuted and wrongly generalized over the centuries, I would think that there would be more. And you,
Wrongly generalized.
Chadical, for
Kaiser,
fuck's sake, man! Can I just finish a
Kaiser, what are
fucking
you
sentence?
doing?
I'm just asking if you're sure.
I'm just saying.
Boxing knows.
Yeah.
Boxing knows that we as Americans, black or white or whatever, would all get along if it weren't for Jewish influence, kind of trying to divide us and turn us on each other. And while whites are hating blacks, the Jews are boiling children with matzo balls. I mean, it's the same old game.
I mean,
you're
the
on
Indians
to him,
are cheering
Kaiser.
them
I
on.
mean, that's
Which no, my point is
yeah,
just very simple, man. It's not. You think it's?
that was a joke.
I know.
by the way.
It's
Please
a
don't
joke.
ban me
I know.
from actual blood
No.
libel.
The thing is, boxing. My thing is just no. Boxing. I'm just saying. I don't accuse you of nothing, man. But I'm just saying. I think it's strange, man. Like, because honestly, I hate.
Okay, let me make
we
one
get
point,
it, Kaiser. We
Kaiser,
got your
Kaiser,
point, man.
Kaiser,
Okay.
Kaiser. I want to make a point different than everyone's made. Okay, I'm gonna make one quick point. It's not gonna be long. I promise.
Black people are also the most Holocaust.
We get it. So I'll give both sides I did here. So it is true that blacks have a way higher per capita crime rate, like 7 times or something like this. That's
But
true.
the thing is that they don't know what per
let me
capita
finish my
means,
point.
so that
Let me
don't
finish
count
my
for
point.
them.
No, let him finish.
Okay, please let me finish. There are also claims made about this that are not true. So this crime, because of segregation and because of which black neighborhoods are particularly violent, like the South Side Chicago, inner city Baltimore, is overwhelmingly black on black, such that there is not an epidemic of blacks attacking whites. It's much more likely to be rape or murder. No, let me finish my point. It's
the
just a
comparison
fact.
of
Okay,
rates,
we don't
bro.
like. No, I know.
If you
I
compare
understand
whites
that.
attacked
I
by
understand
blacks
per
and blacks attacked
capita.
by whites, it's 25
Please
times
just
higher.
let the man finish
just
his
let him finish his
statement.
point.
Wrong.
Chatical, I'm going to mute you. I'm
Believe it or not,
I'm host now.
your point isn't that brilliant, and I understand it. That per capita, which is the first point I made, it's way higher. But the claim that whites are being actively menaced is not true, because relative to what they're more. Of course, it's because of segregation and population, all these other factors. But nevertheless, the raw fact is you're much more likely to be victimized by a white if you're white. Now, I'll give Kaiser one point too. African Americans are part of our country. They're part of our country's history and identity. We have to figure out how to deal with these problems. We can't just attack them and say, ha ha. Now, the answer is not DEI or pretending they're going to be the same percentage of all ethnicities in all domains, but I don't think it can be a negative view of African Americans. We have to find a way to go after criminals, to jail them, but also to have a positive vision of the country where we can live together peaceably. That's my take.
We have to encourage having a mother and a father in the home. That's going to be the.
Let me say 2 things. First off, listen, Kaiser. The reason why, if you want to know recently, why I've been a little more, you could say, focused on African Americans in a way, is because the most amount of like blatant hypocrisy and anti-Semitism has actually came from Black Americans. Look at any fucking study. Look at that in general, right?
Yeah, you goofy white boys getting jealous of us being good at something fine.
Hey, you keep the Honorable Minister Farrakhan's name out your mouth, boxing.
It's a reality. Secondly, there's this I have this weird view. I could say it's it's this weird view where I have zero effect on.
Would you call it a prejudice?
I have no.
Everything is a
That's a joke.
prejudice.
No.
Everything is.
I have, since I grew up Jewish, Kaiser, right? I grew up Jewish. I am white, technically, which I know a lot of people don't think I'm white, but I'm white. I don't have like this.
You look kind of Mexican, bro. I saw that picture.
I'm tan. I'm tan in that picture. I don't have like this like white guilt factor. So like when there's all these things came up about like shaming white people about this shit, I grew up with like legitimate like Jew hatred to a degree, right? It's fine, but like I didn't have like the benefit privilege of like being like a white aristocracy. So when you hear like black people complain and then deny the Holocaust, Kaiser, and then commit all these crimes, there's all these factors. It makes you a little annoyed when they cry and they have a leg up.
Wait,
I'm
Boxing.
sorry.
You said Jew hate. I've heard you say in the past that you haven't experienced Jewish hatred growing up.
No, growing up, you know.
I've heard him say that he has numerous times.
Yeah, and growing up, I mean, I'm fine. Like, it's not a big deal. But like, I grew up in a really waspy area. Like I said, like when I went to class, like little like girls would like be like, "Oh, like, are you gonna go to hell?" Like things like that. Like it felt weird. But again, it's like a long time ago. I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying is, all in all, essentially that made me not feel like white guilt. So when all these like racial things started happening and I grew up and started seeing things around the country, it made me a little less empathetic of crying people that like then also were the most anti-Semitic people.
I mean, to be fair though, saying that someone's going to hell is not like Jew hatred. I say that to people of all religions.
When you're a little kid.
Yeah, probably don't say that to a child. I mean,
Yeah,
goodness gracious.
I mean,
yeah, like Santa Claus isn't real, for God's sake.
Santa Claus
I
isn't real.
I have absolutely no problem telling my child he's going to go to hell if he doesn't accept Jesus
Okay, let's
Christ.
let Tana talk. She's been patient.
Okay, in Boxing's defense, a little bit. I don't think it's so much that he's focused on it as like I also did not grow up with white guilt because I grew up in the hood, so I didn't have anything to feel guilty about. And so it actually I think just makes you less like I don't have an issue talking about black crime or any of these things that I find a lot of white people are like kind of hesitant to, and I don't feel that because I've never felt that there was anything wrong with it. I'm just talking about facts. And so I do, you do talk about it a lot, Boxing, whatever. I kind of think it's funny, but I think it's just more that like maybe we're just less hesitant to than like some people, perhaps. I don't know. And that's for me, that's what it is.
I find it interesting that because of the rather mild anti-Semitism that Boxing experienced, that he feels like the burden of white guilt has been lifted and he can, you know, become the raging racist monster that he is. I mean, in a way, I feel responsible.
No. I can understand that, but let me just say, I mean, I would rather him be doing this than pulling a John Leibowitz or John Stewart and saying that blacks and Jews should team up and kill white people.
I've never.
Okay,
you know,
let me
if
just
I were
say.
to pick between the two.
Okay, guys, I just want look, guys.
Go ahead,
it's very. All I'm saying is, man, Boxing, you are a smart, intelligent person, and all I'm saying
That's
is,
why
you
he
know,
thinks this way, Kaiser.
Shadike, can you just shut the fuck up and finish? Let people finish a sentence. So generalizations are always shitty, and especially when you. They are shitty, man. Like even if let's say 10% of a certain minority, ethnic minority, are criminal, that means 90% are not criminal. And people who are always focusing on 10%, because honestly, I saw
it's 1/3, Kaiser.
Wait a second, man. What I'm seeing is here on Twitter.
Hey, Kaiser, man, this is a bad argument.
What's a bad? Why is it a bad? Why is it a bad?
Why is it a bad generalizations to think? We have a word called cat. And does that word CAT embody every cat out there? We couldn't think without generalizations. I've heard this in graduate school.
Yes, Richard. Richard, I get that, Richard. But then
he's pissed that I called Jamal Charlo.
Jesus, man. You see, this is the thing, man. I can't even finish one fucking thought here.
Okay, finish your sentence.
Okay, Richard, I get it. What you're saying, it's intuitively, I get that. But then I hold you and I hold Boxing to higher account, and let's say someone like. Donika, you don't know her. She's just stupid. The thing is, we know. Okay,
she's not stupid. She's smart.
She's fucking stupid, man.
Stop. He's making a point. Just let him.
So, and the thing is, even if what you're seeing is here, what they're right now seeing on Twitter, it's happening all over the place. There are certain people, it's not an American thing, it happens in Europe as well, who want to steer shit up, who want to make it, okay, it's us versus them. And I'm also getting emotional that, oh, fuck me, oh, what's going on here? But then I stop and start thinking, is it really like this? And then I have to say, man, it's very suspicious. I don't know, man. Like when people are talking in generalizations, can you talk
Chuck got into your head.
No. I've called out Stels and others from way, way long ago, and you can ask Zach about that. And I think I'm spot on here. If someone wants to make an us versus them, I'm always getting suspicious, always. So, and the thing is, man, I don't know. Look.
Kaiser, I love you, man. I love you, my man.
Whatever,
But this
yeah.
just reminds me of like
rambling.
graduate student talk from like
exactly
women in PhD programs.
Fucking,
I hate to be sexist, but
come on, Richard, man.
It's called.
I look,
virtue
Kaiser. I
signaling.
told
I want
you
a peaceful society.
It's virtue signaling. Though.
It's not virtue signaling, man. Fuck you, Chedical.
That's what Richard's saying. You're doing. I agree.
Chedical, come on, man.
There's nothing wrong with
Kaiser. I'm your biggest defender.
Kaiser will make an effort to approach things with a degree of empathy, though. Even
and Chedical, man, you were hanging around with fucking retarded people. Rami Spaceman. Why are you even there, man?
I hang out with so many people, Kaiser.
Donika, man, Rami Peaceful. They're the most retarded people.
She keeps saying I'm Jewish. She's like, oh, we know he's
Would
Jewish.
you like me to bring her up here sometime so you can talk
Zach,
to her?
we all
She's
know that
actually
you're
a very
Lacoon. Come on.
smart person.
Exactly. I'm a Lacoon.
Her and Kaiser have had many arguments, so he's calling her dumb, but she's not dumb. She's very successful. She's very smart. She's just opinionated.
Is she, man?
And she's very good. She's very good at shit talking too, and that's kind of the problem. Is like a lot of people can't handle her. Her name's Donica.
Oh, I know.
Oh man, honestly, if you
he's just simping for the Armenian Nazi.
No, I'm not simping for her.
You are simping, man. You are fucking simping, Chedical. She's dumb as shit. And you know, she actually was doxxed. Everything what she said is wrong.
Yeah,
everything.
I know.
You know. Why are you defending her, man? You are smarter than this. You know,
I've had her in a group chat.
You know what my problem is, Chedical?
I know who she is.
You know, Chedical, the thing is, you must imagine, like, if I would be like her, I would call her, you know what, who the fuck are you? All Albanians are fucking drug traffickers and human smugglers. Because a lot of them actually are. But I will never do that. And she tells me I'm a cuck. And this is the stupidity of people.
The way that you interact with her, and I've explained this to you, that you could, like, handle yourself differently and you could not chimp out whenever she's, like, criticizing you.
Are you retarded, Chedical? Fuck you, man. If I'm caught by a fucking mountain peasant, a self-hating German, she can fuck off. Then I will chimp out. Because she has no right to tell me what I am. She's nothing. She's literally nothing. And maybe that comes across a little bit, all right, I don't know, but she's nothing.
Let's move past this issue.
Yeah, let's move past that. But Chedical, man, I'm disappointed in you. Honestly, man.
I wanted to ask nuance.
I think she's just calling it as
Kaiser had such high expectations for Chedical.
Yeah, I really had high expectations of Chedical.
I mean, again,
well, he was just disappointed in me. It's all right. It's all right.
Nuance.
It's like you can judge her opinions, but I mean, it's just the way she sees things.
Look, I'll make one point really quick. There needs to be a serious discussion about moving to a better place on race relations. Obviously, this model of everyone's equal and everything, everyone's the same percent of physicists, everyone has the same crime rates. This is rubbish and it's not working, but like just a purely negative or reactionary or ridiculing attitude is not going to be productive. I do see
my
that
tweets aren't even that ridicule. I make jokes. Kaiser,
calm down. I'm not judging, bro. I'm not judging you as a human being. I'm giving like an opinion.
You're good history.
Yeah.
And honestly, Chedical, Donika makes good argument. 6 million cookies? Really? How much time does it take to bake 6 million cookies?
That's a meme, Kaiser.
No, she doesn't even know. No.
Is that denial speak? Is that denial?
Stop defending her, man. She doesn't even know Treblinka, man. She does. Obviously, she does. Yes, obviously, she does.
Kaiser,
she doesn't even know about the Einsatzgruppe, man.
Can you just listen to me, Kaiser?
No, Chedical, stop it, man.
Kaiser.
No, she believes that stuff. I know
all. Can you just listen to me for a second?
Chedical, I know all the group chats. I know all the group chats.
Hold on.
I know all the group chats. I know how the people talk.
That's fine. It's irrelevant.
Stop defending her, man.
I'm not defending.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Hey, guys, can we just move past this? I'm not interested.
No,
in
I
this
want to know
subject.
what Chadicle's gonna say.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Interpersonal
meme that's
comments are
5 years
a
old, and
little
she's just
boring.
quoting it to you because you get upset about it. If you didn't chimp out, she wouldn't do it. It's because you start crying when she says it that she does it over and over
She
again.
was denying the Holocaust.
Okay,
It doesn't matter. It's because you cry about it that she does it to you, guys.
Okay, you
If we
guys
just
have made
stop
your
reacting,
point.
she wouldn't
Chadical.
care.
No,
I was
Chadical.
expecting a more interesting answer.
Chadical, man, that's not true, man. You know that's not
the
true.
point.
No, I know
points
it's
have
true.
been
I don't
made.
see her do it to
Let's
other
just.
people.
Yes.
This
He's
is.
just
Let's
retarded,
talk
man.
about
He's a mountain
something of
peasant. Let's
substance.
move on.
Yeah. So Zag, can I allow some of these people in? One guy has a Morrissey profile, and I want to Mozgong. I want to see if he has.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Well, I can't let him up.
Oh no.
Oh, you can't let him up? All right, hold on.
I was interested in what you had to say about the First Amendment earlier, Richard, about it being you not being a First Amendment absolutist. And as you can probably imagine, I'm not either. But
yeah, I agree with Oliver Wendell Holmes the first time, to be honest. So Oliver Wendell Holmes, when he wrote that statement that everyone quotes, which is "You can't cry fire in a crowded theater," that was affirming a decision for the Sedition Act that was basically making serious criticism of World War I illegal. There had been other sedition acts in the country. He then there was like a year and a half between decisions, and then he dissented against another use of the Sedition Act against Bolshevik anarchists or some sort of people handing out flyers promoting Bolshevism. This is when he started to use the America as a new country, the freedom of, we actually are pursuing a new concept of freedom of the press, and that we're a marketplace of ideas and all that kind of thing. I don't know. I do firmly disagree with that statement, actually. I don't believe you have a right to undermine society, to be honest. And
Richard,
particularly in
yeah.
times of emergency.
One quick point.
We kind of
British.
Oh, go ahead, History. I'm sorry,
Richard. Yeah, go ahead, Richard. Finish, and then I'm going to give you a book recommendation. That
Okay, British common law freedom of the press is literally freedom of the press. That is the printing implement. They cannot take that away. There is nothing in common law that would indicate that they can't arrest you for what you say. And no one is an absolutist on free speech. I mean, look, child pornography is a form of speech. It just is. No one, I would imagine, would support legalizing that. And so, I think it's an extreme case, granted, but sometimes extreme cases reveal the true principle, which is that we have to agree on fundamentals for any sort of productive speech to be possible. And I'm just gonna say it. I think people who are actively subverting the country, acting with bad intentions, acting in bad faith, promoting foreign powers, etc. Yeah, I think there should be speech codes on a national basis that are enforced by the government.
Yeah, I mean, I get to the same place as you do probably through a little bit different means. I mean, you can imagine.
I just have
probably,
a parenthetical
but
observation to Richard really quick. I recommend to you, if you haven't read this book, a book called Law Without Values by Albert Altshuler. Now, you wouldn't agree with the normative take on the book, but it's actually quite fascinating. Like Holmes is often cast as this kind of liberal, like 20th century American liberal who's for free speech and so on. But his views on free speech are really of a piece with his kind of social Darwinism. Like his Buck v. Bell decision isn't contradictory with, but it's actually like 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. Is actually consistent with, like, his free speech views kind of come out of his social Darwinism in some weird way, which a lot of liberals. Yeah, but I think you'd find this book very interesting. Even though the guy's like a Christian, the guy's like a Christian, so he doesn't like it, but he's a good historian, so I think you'd find it interesting.
Well, so it's that idea of like these memes have to go at war with each other in order for the best one to win.
Correct.
Something.
Correct.
So
yeah.
that's an assumption that I I reject. I think the bad ideas often win, and that's why we should have a state to crush them.
So Richard, actually, let me ask you a question about free speech. Can
Sure.
you say in America, kill all XY? It doesn't matter. Can you say that? Would that be legally allowed?
You can. Yes, according to Brandenburg and other Supreme Court decisions, you could absolutely say that, because it's if it's a generalized kind of one day call to violence, like saying we should one day kill all the congressmen, we should one day kill all the Catholics or whatever. You can actually say that in the United States.
It has to be directional. It has to be directional. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Now,
yeah.
I kind of understand that, to be honest. I mean, who among us would scape whipping if, bold comments were taken too literally, kind of thing. So I kind of do understand that. I think, obviously people in the past were, calling others out and calling for mass murder and so on. But, they weren't being arrested left and right for that kind of behavior. But I guess I'm going a little bit deeper than that. Like, I don't really care that much about the Westboro Baptist Church calling for the death to fags or something. I mean, that's just kind of an outlandish take, basically. But what I'm saying is, like, if you are, and I mean, it's very tricky and it's very hard, but if you are trying to undermine the state, and undermine civil society, I think a speech code should be enforced on you. And I think the state has a right to exist.
Yeah, I mean, I
That's
agree
where
with
I'm
you in
at, too.
theory, but in practice, how do you possibly decide who is the arbiter of that?
So
How do
it's
you
widespread.
possibly
Well,
make
the
that
problem
something that remains
is,
neutral?
that's fair enough, but the problem is like we don't know who we are. Like, for a state, I mean, this is getting very Schmittian here, but it's like the liberal state tries to be either a neutral mechanism or it tries to be all things to all people. But I think society and a state are organic, interested parties. It's like a human being, basically. And that human being does have interests, and he has enemies and friends and adversaries and competitors and so on.
Yep. This is the exact
So
analogy I use when describing it.
Yeah.
FDM, you need to have an objective foundation for your morality to point at in order to make those moral decisions. That's the
Right,
answer.
or a class or something like that. I mean, if we had a WASP class that was sure of itself and could define an enemy and define an adversary and define an ally, etc., that would be one thing. But we don't have that. We have the state that's trying to be a neutral mechanism, but it can't be a neutral mechanism, and thus it fails. So this is my kind of Hobbesian, take. But I would agree. I mean, I know this sounds totally outrageous, but I would basically agree with Hobbes or Richard Nixon that when the president does it, it's not illegal, in the sense that law emanates from the sovereign. Like, the law is a way of rationalizing, regulating society, and it emanates from politics. A lot of Americans think that politics emanates from law, and I think that's just totally incorrect. And thus, when the sovereign acts in his interest, for his right to exist, nothing can be illegal. Like, the sovereign can go to war. The sovereign can kill you. The sovereign can kidnap you. The sovereign can do all these things precisely because he is a person with interest. That's how I would describe it theoretically. So, in other words, I'm not a liberal. I mean, to put it mildly, I guess.
Richard, a follow-up question. Could you say, to make it more specific, let's say you're candidating for a political platform, I want to abolish the political system of the United States, I want to abolish the Congress, and I want to instate a dictator for life. You can say that, basically.
This is the exact thing that Schmitt faced. So a lot of people know of Carl Schmitt because of his kind of chummy buddy relationship with National Socialists. But and he did justify Hitler's the Night of Long Knives, the attack on SA people and so on. in a very famous article that he wrote, where he's gleefully talking about how great it was. But before the takeover of power, he said the parliament, like the Weimar Republic, as flawed as it is the source of order in the society. You have communist and National Socialists entering parliament with the clear objective to overturn parliament. And yet this neutral mechanism, at least it thinks, putatively neutral mechanism, is allowing this to happen. And so what he was suggesting is a dictatorship against, at that time, a sort of emergency dictatorship against the Nazis. So you can kind of think of this in the way of, Karl Popper. A lot of right-wingers hate this idea of like, don't tolerate the intolerant. It's this paradox of liberalism or whatever. Now, that's not Schmittian, but I mean, Schmitt would more or less agree with that. He would basically say that, like, you cannot tolerate someone who is objectively trying to destroy the state. And we kind of do have these people. I mean, not exactly, but I mean, I think there are a lot of people who act in the clear, and whether it's, bad faith Russian actors, whether it's bad faith kind of like multiculturalist or Muslims or whatever, like, you can definitely find a segment. It's probably much smaller than what it was in 1932 or something, but in Germany, but like, they are attempting to overthrow society. And so I don't know. I mean, it's like the state has a right to exist. The state has interest. The state protects the people. So I'm more of a statist than a nationalist. But I mean, I think whenever liberalism is so terrified of its own authority is when liberalism is going to be actually overturned.
Yeah, I look at it from a pragmatic point of view, and I really admire the United States stance, or the people of American stance on freedom of speech. It's actually great, Honestly, I like that. But here's the thing, I'm a pragmatist. The reason why it is not the case in Europe is because, we had the pragmatic experience that then people will maybe abuse that and then really overthrow the current system. And I would dare say, if America, United States would make the same experience, I think they would even install the same kind of draconian laws which we have in a lot of European countries. And I think the whole J6 stuff and the whole Russia collusion stuff, I think it actually proves this point, how easy if it really happens. I mean, the reason why the Germany, let's say after 49, West Germany had these laws, which actually are a slippery slope, obviously, is because of the real life experience of 20 years prior, Yeah, I mean, it's pragmatism.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the technology, though, Kaiser, the thing is like this is the thing that doesn't make sense to like people. Is like that I was at like an event with like Mike Pence, and he was the VP, and it was just like a fundraising event in my area, and the amount of like security a vice president had, not a president, have, that Secret Service had to go to these people's house like 3 days before. There was a series of snipers on the roof just for like, I can't tell you how much security is there just for the vice president. Like, things to get overthrown in this country are so difficult with technology and systems that I think a lot of people who have any idea the difficulties of any type of, that, it's just unrealistic.
See, I don't really agree with that. I mean, I agree it's really hard to overthrow the government. And obviously the government has, when both sides are using muskets, there's more equality. When one side is using, computerized drones, that's a totally different. I get all of that, but I don't actually agree with you. Like, I think people could overthrow the government, and I think it comes down. It really does actually come down to like ideology in a way. If the government isn't fully willing to defend itself, if it's spread itself so thin that it's like policing people on Twitter or something, then it's just totally lost the plot, and it actually will be overthrown. And all those drones will be meaningless, or the drones will be hacked, or or the soldiers are too like fat and lazy to fight, or there's some like I don't buy the idea of like it's impossible to overthrow the government. Now,
So
obviously, I'm not going to do it. I'm just saying
do
that.
do you think that so do you
Yeah.
think that a lot of these this is how I felt about looking at it. Like do you think that the will of certain like people, whether it be like I guess Capitol Police or whoever is the breakdown at like J6 for example, do you think the will for them to initially resist was not there, or do you think their orders were to not do that?
I think J6 is a fascinating thing, and I do think like I don't doubt at all that there were a number of FBI agents embedded in these groups, and the fact I also don't believe that it was like a conspiracy where the Fedsurrection or whatever they wanted it to have. I don't believe that. I think that's bullshit. But I do think that they were almost like disempowered to stop it. And
Wait.
like, okay, well, go ahead, Hannah. You can interrupt.
No, I'm sorry. You finish. I just had a question about that.
Okay. Well, like there is one of my favorite videos from J6 is this woman who she's interviewed by a journalist, and she says, "I can't believe it. They used tear gas and all this, and they were like, well, what were you doing?" And she said, well, it was a revolution, and it's like, listen, Cupcake, if you're going to engage in revolution and tear gas should be the least of your problems. So like they both thought that they were like not quite overthrowing the government, but definitely, deregulating it, keeping Trump in power. Right. But then they were like, perish the thought that the government would stop me from doing this. I just found it a totally bizarre. I think the government was afraid. The government was afraid. The fact that they only shot Ashley Babbitt. I mean, look, I'm just saying, look, I'm sorry, this is like full on Spencer posting here, but like, if I were in charge of the government and you have, like, it's one thing to protest and it's also one thing to commit crime and it's one thing to be a total idiot. I get it. The second they start talking about like revolution, we're taking back the government or whatever like that, I would shoot the bastards. And I think I would be totally justified in doing that.
I just don't understand though, Richard, like how, okay, so what you said, just so that I've got it right, is like you don't doubt that there were like feds embedded or whatever, but you feel like they were like powerless to stop. No, that's not what you said.
I did say that, yeah.
Okay,
I was just saying I don't doubt that there were feds
right.
all
and
up in their business.
But then like you feel like they were powerless to stop it. I've always felt like, okay, like we know that there were feds like implanted in the Proud Boys, implanted in the Oath Keepers. I brought this up the other day. I haven't been able to find it, and I have looked, but I read a BuzzFeed article like, I don't know, back when I read BuzzFeed, so like 2016 or something, about Stuart Rhodes, like being, people were speculating that he was like an informant back then or whatever, which I don't know about that. But like, I don't understand how your position could be that they couldn't stop it when it's like, it doesn't make any logical sense that they wouldn't have known it was going to happen, because we know that they have people planted in all these groups who seem to be the groups that were there with the actual plan, as opposed to a lot of these kind of QAnon people.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of delusional people who were just there, and they are innocent in a way, even if they went into the building and so on. But look, the fact is, like, Trump was calling for something that seems a lot like a revolution. I mean, he was calling to go down to Capitol and start to making so much an uproar that the senators would change their mind and decertify the election. I mean, it was an uprising.
Richard,
you want to use that word?
No, sure. It's just my position on it is that, like, maybe not so much that the feds push it to happen or that it was like a Fedsurrection, but I definitely don't see how the argument could be made that they didn't purposefully allow it to happen. And I don't see how,
if they
because
did
they
that,
had, but because they have people in these groups, like Stuart Rhodes had this hotel room where he had all these like guns apparently, and like There were people
Yes.
in his group that were planning on spending the night. And so it's like, if feds knew that those extreme plans were being made, like, how, I don't understand how you can take the position that they didn't allow it to happen. I don't think that
Because
means that makes it a fed's
they
direction,
believe.
though.
Well, I see your nuanced take. I
Mhm.
mean, if they like, it's one thing to have a super rowdy protest. I mean, to take an example, no one that I know of involved in Charlottesville ever called for the overthrow of any sort of government, like city or
Right.
state or local law. So, like, I think that people do, like, if I were the king, I do think that you're in a public place, you want to speak your piece, be loud, like, that is okay. It's the moment you start undermining the government itself. My view is, again, like, I expressed this last night with people. I don't think liberals are, like, malicious. I think they're just dumb. And I think the FBI believed in, like, free speech, and it's like, well, if he's not killing
But they
anyone,
knew
we
that they
can't
were
stop
making
him.
these, but they knew that they were making these,
They
like,
didn't
kind of
know, they were
crazy
in over their
plans.
head. They didn't know how, like, they didn't quite know what they were dealing with. And in their defense, the people involved are just obviously clowns. But
Well, sure. I
sometimes,
just don't. I don't see how you can claim that they didn't know that it was going to happen when, like, again, like, they
I
had
think
this
they did
hotel
have an
room full of
idea that it was
guns.
happening. Well, I know, and
Okay.
they didn't stop it because, again, the ideology is not correct. Like,
Do you place
it's
any culpability on the FBI agents who maybe knew something but didn't act on their knowledge?
Yeah, I guess
I
that's my
bet there's a
question.
lot of I bet there's a lot of incompetence, but I think it's actually deeper than that, because it's like they're
That's
terrified
understandable.
of actually having an interest. Like, I mean this very
Okay.
seriously. It's worse if a buffoon says, I'm going to overthrow the government. That's somehow worse than a buffoon who says, I'm going to rob the liquor store.
Yeah,
And
no
So you would credit
what I
it.
mean by that is that, like, the robbing the liquor store is a crime. It doesn't undermine society. It just is what it is. Obviously, it should be policed and arrested. Someone is trying to, like, undermine the very basis of society. That person is so much more dangerous.
He sounded a little
Well,
bit like John
no.
MacArthur here.
But
Yeah,
from the
well,
FBI's
yeah.
viewpoint, it's like, oh, well, you know.
Yeah, I guess, like, it's just okay.
Well,
So if
just really quickly here,
Someone,
Richard, I think the issue with J6 after the first few days was the back and forth between the Trump officials of this was a McConnell Pelosi problem. They didn't provide adequate security. They were told. Capitol Police has been very quiet about this because they all knew it would be a problem. We spoke with MPD that said this would be a problem. I was ready, and then they go, no, you weren't. This was your fault. No, it was your fault. So this was going to die. This story was going to go away because of the he said, she said, and the security lapse, because, the footage basically showed a shit show. So I think the fact that was buried and it became solely Trump's fault for the people amassing and the chaos, they just completely shifted the narrative after the first, 6 weeks. And, that story was completely buried. That
You're just
that
focusing on
proper
technical
security protocol
details.
weren't followed.
so, do
No,
you
I know, but that
discredit it
detail
with?
was an important factor in how the media spiraled with this, because if
But
the
it just
blame
gets
for
to
the
my
chaos
larger
was
point
equally
that
appropriated, I think this would have been seen as just a lapse on the government's part because of idiots coming to vent their anger, and I don't think it was as complicated as toppling of the government, perhaps. Just bad optics.
I just
and
think
didn't have the right protocols in
I
place to
think
shut this
because of
down.
look, what you to the degree that I understand what you're arguing, what you're saying is that this was obviously a bad optics. It was a shit show, and that because there was some incompetency that wasn't held to account. Is that?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think
mean,
that the
I just
FBI
that's
took
just a weak.
advantage. I feel like they took advantage of the opportunity to make these people look
Yeah.
like they do by allowing it to happen. Like because
Exactly.
I don't.
Exactly.
When I
Like
look at the
stepping on a right.
evidence, that just like
Yeah, they should have been arresting
seems like
people
what
immediately,
happened.
and they
Like
didn't.
Guys,
because
no,
yeah.
I'm not going to let you
No,
guys
but I'm
do
not
this.
undermining
Well,
what
I'm
you're
sorry.
saying. Richard. There
I'm
was
not.
a
I'm not
big
mad
problem.
anyway. I'm not mad. I'm just saying, guys, there was a legal theory done by conservative lawyers, John Eastman, about how this was going to go down. There was a call from the big man himself to go march down Pennsylvania Avenue
I'm not
towards
denying.
Congress to do this.
I'm
Well,
not denying
what
any
is
of
that?
that though.
Richard, it was concurrent with a speech. Your timeline's a little bit off. And another inaccuracy, by the way, in what you said, it wasn't just Ashley Babbitt that was killed. If you watch the videos, there's also the chubby girl that that got caught.
Roseanne
Boylan. Yeah, and if you watch,
I'm saying more people should have been killed.
Yeah, if you watch the time sequence, you can see where she's clearly getting beaten by by the
You
police.
say I think more
Yeah, I
people
know.
should have been killed.
Deservedly. I mean, you don't
As I was-
understand the argument.
Yeah, he's saying that the government. No, I agree. His argument
The government's
is saying that,
weak.
Yeah, if the government felt that, yeah, it's.
What did you
Well, that
expect
was deadly. That was the
during
use of deadly
summer
force.
2020, if I may
And
ask?
Richard, I'm not sure if you've ever been in the military or something like that, but there is something called posse comitatus, and you know, a lot of senior military officers get relieved or fired, among other different things, for violating posse comitatus, even when there's like a local crime outbreak. I think that there was something that happened in Alabama, like I don't know how many years ago, where a base commander started to activate his unit and then got in trouble for violating posse comitatus. So I don't concur with what you say, and I don't think it. I think it
You're
actually
not
shows
making an
weakness.
argument against me. You're just making a liberal argument, which
No,
is
I think it actually
heaven
shows.
forbid that the military would be on American soil. It's just like liberal.
Yeah, but Richard, you're saying that if the government felt that they were going to be overthrown, if there was a real threat, for only 2 people to die, and I'm not saying more people should have died because I don't think the threat was real, but if they did think it was real, there would be way more people dying. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, for context, you guys,
I'm not
posse
arguing
comitatus
that.
only applies to active duty military. It doesn't apply to National Guard. National Guard can operate under Title 32, which gives them full authority to operate within the United States.
Guys, do you see how we're just delving into all this minutia?
So to answer to that,
this is the exact problem. Like there is
Richard,
an exceptional state. The government needs to defend itself. If it used the army in a zealous manner, I would defend it because the state has a right to exist, and there's no technical
Would you defend
that
the
would
crown
undermine
in the 18th century? Then I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yes,
but-
Richard said he would have been a loyalist.
That's interesting. I like that.
The American revolutionaries, they did not claim like to their credit, Thomas Jefferson and company knew that they would be beheaded and ruined if they lost. They actually were based.
That's correct,
conservatives are not based. They're like, oh, I can't believe you did this to me. I can't believe the state defended itself against me. Heaven forbid. It's ridiculous.
So Richard, look, I agree with you. I was just pointing out the difference between Title 10 and Title 2. I still laugh because your point about the tear gas during the revolution. I mean, could you imagine if during the Boston Tea Party and then everything else after that, and the shooting, someone came out and said, "Oh my God, they used tear gas against us." No,
yeah, exactly. It's like
comical,
they're
right?
fighting back. What? How they're defending?
Colonel, I'm not actually talking about the National Guard thing. I'm talking about the allegation that there were several SOCOM Tier 1 units that were activated and had people in close proximity ready, or actually in certain cases, the allegation's also been made that they were actually in the crowd.
Yes, the Romans had it right. the salvation of the people is the highest law. What that means is that there is no law that will prevent you from protecting the state and the country. Basically, in a state of exception, you are able to do anything in defense of the civil order. There is no technical thing that should prevent a government from defending itself. And so like all of this law stuff is just, it's just ridiculous. I mean, like the rules are made to be broken. I mean,
I agree with you about the authority.
What revolutionaries would have done is they would have said, we're going to go back to the Capitol tomorrow, the day after, we're going to break that fence down, we're going to do all these things. That's what, none of that happened.
They were weak.
Okay, but none of this was actually about my actual question, or the point I was trying to make didn't have anything to do with what happened after people got to the Capitol. My question, or I guess my kind of point, was that, like, I'm not saying that the FBI made people look crazy. I'm saying that the FBI already knew that these people were crazy and were going to there to do something crazy, and that they allowed it to happen, knowing that that's what they planned. And so, like, I would
but that's the argument of look at what you made me do, or look at what you allowed me to do.
No.
That kind of is
that's
your
not,
argument, actually.
Wait, no, it's not my argument. If that's what you think I'm saying, then you're not understanding what I'm saying. Like,
well, let me repeat your argument. So there are crazy people in the conservative movement, and the FBI was surveilling these crazies, and the FBI wanted to allow them to look crazy, and so they didn't do enough. Right?
Well, okay, I shouldn't say I don't know why. What I'm saying. I shouldn't say they wanted to make them look crazy or let them look crazy or whatever. But what I am saying is, obviously these people are responsible for themselves, but we should wonder why the FBI didn't shut it down when we know that they knew it was going to happen. Yeah, that's it. Like,
suggesting, we're engaged in interpretation and opinion. So what I am, you are suggesting one thing. What I am suggesting is that the state is afraid to fully assert itself and defend its own interests, and thus these FBI agents, which aren't, they're not the sharpest knives in the drawer, and they're not given good direction. They're given all these like liberal, gobbledygook myths, and they are just kind of listless. And
so you would attribute it to it's late. What's the word? Not malice, but just stupidity.
Yeah, listless.
Stupidity. Incompetence.
Yeah, like Napoleon. When Catholics, Napoleon defended the revolution against a kind of Catholic royalist uprising. That's giving them a whiff of grape shot. I mean, I don't. If it's good enough for the emperor, it's good enough for me.
Richard, the question
is that actually was just like the answer I was looking for to my question, but we went like into like 8 different directions. That's all I was trying to ask.
But Richard, the question is like, okay, so maybe they did a threat assessment and maybe they knew that there's no real threat because there's no weapons. There was no weapons, Richard.
There were many weapons.
True.
There were some weapons, cars parked.
Can I just maybe intervene from an outside perspective? I think boxing, you don't get Richard's argument. Richard's making a principled argument. It doesn't matter if they had 1 gun, 2 guns, 3 guns, 5 guns. They were, I mean, you cannot deny they were violating the sanctity of, let's say, the systemic institutions of the United States of America. I mean, I saw the pictures. They were going into these rooms. They were going into the rooms of representatives. They were destroying or doing all kinds of. It was stupid, guaranteed, but it was a violation.
They were getting a tour. They were getting a walking tour.
But how would it look if they
give me a break?
Okay, come on, guys.
How would it look? How would it look?
Get
How
out
do we
of
always
it.
end up on January 6th?
I need to speak because
it's a huge event.
Richard, I think
it was a clown act, but
you're
Richard, bringing up some
who went in there and fucked around with property of a senator or congressperson or absconded with items should probably get the full weight of the law thrown at them, because we can't have that sort of behavior.
No,
But the people who
It's
got
again, you're
criminal
treating no,
trespass and
you're treating it
conspiring
like
to
a
commit
crime.
insurrection for being on the grounds, we have to be careful.
You're
with some of the
treating it
judgments.
as a crime. It's not a crime. It's a direct undermining of the government. The people
Okay.
who are
So it's
thinking,
treason.
We need to roll
the
back
people
this
who are
up, Richard.
thinking about it, the people who conceived of it need to be punished because they're the ones truly undermining the civic
You're
order.
smoking, brother.
Some Yahoo, whatever,
Yeah, but
he should be
guys,
punished.
We could apply RICO
Can we
statutes
back
almost
this
on
up?
this, and
yeah, but honestly, Richard's argument is not
because it probably goes pretty high up. I mean,
Zagonel,
necessarily
Richard's argument from a principle point of view is not hard to understand. Just because the putsch was pathetic and it was ridiculous doesn't mean it was a putsch. It's like with the Hitler putsch in 23, the beer hall putsch.
Yeah.
Even though it was pathetic, it was truly pathetic, doesn't mean it wasn't a true attempt to overthrow a legit government or system. I mean, you can
Exactly.
Just because it's stupid doesn't excuse it or pathetic.
But
I
Richard,
mean, come on, guys.
how would it look if they fired upon the, like, literally, stood there with, assault weapons and just started firing upon the squad to disperse it? Richard, how would that look? Like, honestly,
It might very well be bad optics to some degree, but it would demonstrate that the state is willing to defend itself. And it would, I don't think we would be talking about like a lot of, the insurrection talk, I think would quiet down after the government demonstrated its resolve.
Richard, let me get a word in here. So you're actually bringing up something kind of interesting about.
Hold on, Andy. Let's go to Miss G. She's been passed over a bunch. Go ahead, Miss G. And then
Thank
we'll
you,
go to Andy.
Zach. Richard, first of all, let's start here. Peacefully walk over now and make your voices heard. You do not believe that we have the right to peacefully assemble? I mean, what is this?
I expressed that we do have the right to peacefully assemble.
Okay, so
this
you
was
do
this
not-
was not.
You
this
haven't
was
seen all the
about-
tapes. No one has. And I am here to tell you that these people stated they were fired upon before any of that happened as they were approaching. Okay, so you want to call them crybabies, but when being attacked repeatedly, you don't think the crowd's going to get in an uproar. And I'll go one further for you, okay? Because in my opinion, Richard, and I am sick and I'm putting it out there, I am in these spaces with a fever and an earache, and I've been aggravated all day. So don't press my buttons any further. So, with that being said, okay, they know the crowds that President Trump draws. They knew all along that there was going to be tremendous crowds. Now, are there crazies? Yeah, there's crazies in this world. You cannot deny it. And there were probably crazies in there. But if you were trying to tell me that you don't think this was a well planned out, coordinated, basically reverse coup, in my opinion, whereas these people were set up, conservatives were set up to put us in our place, to shut our mouths so we stay in line, and that the injustices that are happening to plenty of people, one being Brandon Strzok, who just won a case, it's like ridiculous. People are being locked up, having no means, shitty fucking public defenders in DC, liberal DC, no means to properly defend themselves. So they have to take pleas. And you're telling me the state has the right to fire upon them? Well, then I'm going to ask you this, Richard. Where was that same energy for 2020 or anywhere else? I'll even go as far as what went on in Charlottesville. Have at it, brother.
Well,
they
what
weren't
do you
trying to
mean
undermine
exactly?
a government. They weren't trying to undermine a government. It was just public displays of.
Oh, you think 2020 wasn't trying to?
Well, Charlottesville, is a little.
Charlottesville
Well, I
was
was just
clearly
being
not
sarcastic with
attempting
that
to
one,
undermine a government. I mean, no.
Pardon?
I think that there's a big counterpoint to what Richard is saying, and I think it's more actually what you would see it with a strong government, and it's the statement, what is it, de minimis non curat praetor, which it is, the law doesn't concern itself with trifles, and in this context, we know it wasn't an actual true insurrection because
It
of
wasn't
the
an
fact,
insurrection at all. Not even an
right,
actual, true, partially sub-thought. It wasn't.
You're
right.
trying to
It wasn't that.
minimize.
Well, I'm not trying to minimize. I'm
But
trying to actually say this. Congress actually later on decided to intervene with how the vice president actually performs that specific function, and they thought it was important enough to actually make it more of a ceremonial thing in terms of a proposed law to address the interpretation. So I think that I think that is an issue. I think if it was a strong government, that they would have laughed it off, they would have mocked them, but they didn't actually. They seized it as a political opportunity, and I think the FBI's approach was actually a little bit different than what's been said, and I think that how do you approach things if you're law enforcement? Well, you gather evidence and then you prosecute, and that's exactly what they did. But
Yeah,
I'll say,
who was prosecuted and charged with an insurrection?
Well,
no
yeah,
one's been
multiple
no one's been
people.
charged with
People have been convicted for sedition.
right, but
That's
they're also
seditious.
getting tried in Washington D.C. and I live in D.C. area. Okay, so I'm very familiar with this area and what the politics are, particularly in D.C. proper, not in the surrounding suburbs. And I think there's that. There's the treatment of some of the people, and I think the treatment has been eye-opening. And not to say that they should have been doing those things or shouldn't have been doing those things, but I think it's the overreaction, and what happened with the overreaction, that I think made some people more aware of things. But I think the FBI's perspective is actually very different. So they gathered evidence and then they prepared to prosecute. They protected their CIs, they protected some of their agents, and that's why there was so many names that were disappearing from the hunt down list. But that's also the explanation of something else that they've been very cagey about, and that's why Director Wray will not be open about how many agents and CIs they had, because it
They're
wasn't a
not
small
going to be
number.
open about that. What are you
Because it wasn't
implying
a small
by
number.
focusing?
Well, what
I
I'm
agree.
saying is there was
I
a lot
said
more
at the
involvement.
beginning.
There was a lot more
What are
involvement.
you implying by that? That they did it?
No,
What are you
I've
They were
never
in
implying?
on it, in my
said that they
opinion.
did it, but I
That's
Well, then
what
also
why
I
are you
agree with
bringing up this point?
I also agree with
I don't
Mrs. G.
understand this.
Well,
This point,
there's
like,
so one of the points is this: if you watch the videos, and there's still a number of different things that have been going on. There's the former Marine who was telling people to go into the Capitol. There was the organized tear down of the fences. There was the police officers shooting tear gas into people and using the whatever kind of flashbang grenades direct at the crowd before anything was really violent. And I think if a civilian did that, you'd call it incitement of a riot. But because police officers did that, there's been nothing to happen. Nothing's
are
happened
you
as a result.
implying that they incited the insurrection? The
I
feds, that is.
I don't. Well, are you
That
asking
seems
if
to
there
be
was a
what you're
detailed plan?
implying.
No, I'm saying that there were actions that were
I
taken
am.
that may have caused that to happen. You know what I'm saying? That
Don't
now
you think
is
that
it
for
an organized plan? I don't think so.
They knew what they were doing. I mean, like, there were speeches given about walking down Pennsylvania Avenue to make an uproar. There was a legal theory
Okay.
about how we're going to get away with this. The idea that they just so happened to all gather there for no other reason just strikes me as totally incredible.
Okay, so the Trump so let's follow your logic here, okay? The hardcore Trump crowd decides to miss the Trump speech and instead raid the Capitol. Okay? Is that really what you're saying? Okay? Because I want to understand it. Are you saying that they raided the Capitol and missed the Trump speech, or something else? Because I want to know which is your opinion of what actually happened.
So You're just. I mean, I don't even know what to say to this.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. If they're hardcore Trump fans,
this is
they would
almost
have
like
gone to the speech.
nihilism in the sense
Have you
that,
ever
like,
been to a Trump speech? They're kind of boring, and if you don't have a good spot, it can be kind of hard to see, and you can't really hear, and you may just want to get the fuck out of there and go storm the Capitol. I don't know.
This is like I'm being very serious here. This is this form of nihilism where, like, there's no logic to anything. You know, like, Trump gave a speech, people raised the Capitol. There's no connection. Like, why do, like,
Okay,
no?
and
There
how
are
many
causal
minutes?
Okay,
connections.
this is ridiculous. Zach, throw Al for a mic, please, because if he doesn't take a mic, I'm gonna have to like find him. So anyway, I'm gonna put this out there one more time for the people that didn't get me the first time. Trump draws big crowds. There should have been plenty of protection. When they batten down the hatches, it ain't for Trump supporters, it's for everyone else. So this nonsense from the get-go, and I do mean get-go, is all bullshit. And how you can't see it, and how any American is okay with what happened to their fellow Americans is really starting to irritate me. But yet, oh wait, what is it? I'm just a Israeli asset. So what the fuck do I
I
know,
didn't call
right?
you that, G. I didn't call
I
you
know.
that.
I'm
But
just. I know
doesn't
you didn't,
everyone
Richard.
here? Doesn't everyone here think
Andy.
that on
So
both
let me.
sides?
Oh, hold on.
So Richard,
FTM, just finish your point, FTM, and then Andy. He kind of started, so.
Yeah, sorry. I was just going to say, don't people think that on both sides here, the old adage, and I think Hannah was kind of getting at this earlier, what never attribute to malice that which can be adequately attributed to incompetence. Is that not applicable for both sides here? I mean,
I can't hear him. I gotta drop.
Okay, so Andy, you can go.
So no, don't take this the wrong way, Richard. But I think your views on January 6th are kind of boring and compared to something else you said. And so I'll preface this with saying, so as a Christian nationalist, I believe that the civil magistrate and the church should have equal rights, responsibilities, and separate spheres of influence. And you kind of said something interesting about the government having certain inalienable rights or the state having inalienable rights. And so what I'm curious about is, do you think that the state has responsibilities to the polity it's overseeing? And if they abrogate those responsibilities, what is the duty of those within the body that's being governed to change that?
Well, I wouldn't couch these things in terms of rights. Obviously, if a state is just very bad, and particularly if it fails to protect the nation, then whether the nation has a right to revolt or something, I just don't think in those terms. But the nation probably will. I mean, I think in the terms of like, you roll the die. I mean, it's like you cross the Rubicon, you take the risk, and it's an all or nothing event.
Right now,
this is why I don't respect J6ers. All this whining about, like,
we're being failed to be protected with our
hold on.
border wide open. Are we joking?
Well, okay, but like, then do your revolution if you believe that. But don't come whining about, like, your rights or something. Thomas Jefferson, he idealistically spoke about rights, but he was under full confidence that if they failed in their, I would suggest this, totally illegal and likely unjustified revolt against George III, that
it wasn't
they
a revolt.
Would be
false narrative. I object.
What?
I agree
on the government. I mean, what is this? You don't have.
I agree with you there, like, Richard.
I would respect J6ers if you just, like, own it. Someone said this. I forgot what it was. It's like, I think Zach said this. It's like, if you keep going back and you do something that isn't
freedom fighters.
Hold on.
It's like the American.
You do something more than a guy, like, wearing a buffalo head carrying a podium around. Like, I would have more respect. Like Ashley Babbitt is a martyr. She's not a martyr now. If you own the revolution that you were involved in, then she would be a martyr. If you disown it and claim that it's like someone else's fault, then Ashley Babbitt is just some accident.
So So I
It's
think,
just
Michael, check your
Richard,
DMs.
I like what you say from a perspective, and that is this. It reminds me a little bit of Abraham Lincoln, who was truly willing to dispense with laws as needed to make sure that he kept the country together. But but by extension, you're comparing that rabble of fat asses and poorly dressed people to the Confederacy and an actual war, hundreds of thousands of people dying, and all that other crazy stuff from a true rebellion. And I think that shows how weak your argument is, because you're saying we need to go to these extremist kind of approach for this little group of protesters with no guns.
That's been the historical.
there were a ton of guns. That was proven at the J6 hearing. You guys keep bringing this up.
That is false.
But like
the guns that they talked about at the J6 hearing were not in Washington, D.C. They were outside on the skirts, and somebody was specifically charged with that. So no, there were no guns by the people that were arrested at January 6th.
There were people bringing in guns. This was testified.
Show me which person got arrested on D.C. Capitol grounds for possession of a weapon.
I'm not going to show you which person got arrested.
So don't
I'm
lie.
going to tell you that people test. I'm not lying. Don't accuse me of lying.
I'm accusing you of lying because
I'm not bullshitting you.
Who is the J6 defendant? Who is the J6 defendant?
I'm not going to be. I'm not lying. Nor am I bullshitting you.
Okay, you're not lying or you're not bullshitting, but you've made an extraordinary claim. So provide some extraordinary evidence.
Why would you drop
There was
them?
testimony at the J6 hearing that all of these scanners
J6 was a kangaroo.
Okay, don't just
committee.
don't look. Okay, this is you guys are
The
engaging.
J6 debate is so boring. I think it's more interesting, like what Richard thinks about the powers of government. Like that's a more interesting conversation. Debating J6 all night is kind of boring.
Yeah, I came on to ask Richard and Kaiser a question, and it goes back a little bit, maybe about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And I was brushing my teeth, and I said, I have to talk to Richard and Kaiser about this question, because Richard was talking about the state fighting against its enemies and things like that. And what I thought about was, and this is a serious question. It made me think about the German Civil War of 1919, where there was heavy Jewish involvement with Sparta League and whatnot, and they were then identified actually as class enemies of Germany, and there was a civil war fought, an actual civil war, and that's kind of like in my understanding. I'm an American, so I don't have a good understanding of German history like Kaiser does. So I thought it would be interesting to ask, do you guys think that identification of class enemies that actually tried to overthrow the country and take it over and actually may have succeeded, like what happened was actually the case in terms of what triggered much of the anti-Jewish, much of the Holocaust and those kind of things?
That's kind of going a bit far.
Yeah, but
Okay, so
but
I found
can I
US
also maybe speak just because Ben makes an important point, and Richard actually have to back him up here. Yeah, actually there were a lot of civil wars going on. In 1920, you had the GRU uprising, thousands of people died. Almost no one knows that. It was basically from 1980 to 1922, basically a civil war in Germany. But here's the thing: this is what Richard's point. All of these people involved knew. We're victim, woe the loser. The thing is just they knew, okay, what we are doing. If we win, if we are successful, then we are justified. We can always find a legal reason or cause whatsoever. If we lose, we are done for. I think what Richard is criticizing now, the problem with J6, what is it actually? Do you own it up or do you disavow it? So what is it? If you own
Kaiser, how could you own up something that was just a protest?
But how can it be?
It was a
But Miss G, what I don't understand here, how can it be a protest if you're violating? I mean, you can agree. Look, the thing is,
violating what? Violating what? They have
Miss
a
G,
right
it's not.
to
Look,
assemble
Miss G,
and
if
protest.
I storm our parliament building, even though I say, assumingly, I'm not doing it. I hate my.
Not every one of those people did
Not
break the
all of
law
those
or do any
people. But
damages,
Miss G, can
and they're
I?
being
You see, Miss G,
prosecuted.
you're the same now. You don't let me finish a sentence here. You're doing actually the same now.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So if I would storm, let's say, parliamentarian buildings and go into offices of representatives, even though I would think my government is totally illegitimate, I must get rid of that. I know if I'm being caught, okay, I know what's coming after me because I was violating the sanctity of the state. It is what it is. I mean,
Okay,
yeah.
can I
Okay.
rebut?
Yeah, go ahead, Miss G.
Okay, so I'm going to say this once and for all. And first of all, I've seen um, video footage of a man breaking a window in black where people are trying to hold him off and telling him, "What are you doing?" That man still isn't arrested. Now, that man deserves what he gets. Okay? Anyone walking through, people around on the outside or whatever, were scooped up. I mean, we got people on here, sedition hunters, for just looking for any face in the crowd. What kind of, y'all disgust me. Really, we're supposed to be one. We're Americans. America first. We're supposed to care about each other, all of us. This is ridiculous. They went to have their voices heard peacefully. There were agitators. There were people there to cause a ruckus and stir up the crowd, and none of them were brought in. One of them famously, and I'm so sick of even saying his name, Ray Epps. I mean, this man is on tape day of, day before, just out there telling people how they got to storm the Capitol or whatever.
Hey, you are I'm sorry. We're gonna have to move on. You are scapegoating a man who is a delusional retard, and I'm just not gonna let you do it. Like that, Ray Epps is a buffoon. Was that a commentary or did that actually happen?
It was Michael.
I think
Okay.
he had a very violent toilet, very aggressive toilet.
Ray Epps is a buffoon, but like to treat him as like solely guilty is absurd.
I never said solely guilty, but he wasn't taken in.
Do you see how like every
Well,
conservative that you
he was
might
taken in after Baked Alaska's trial. Actually, he was.
And what happened to him, Chadical?
The idea that like
I'm
all
not
the
sure, but I
conservatives are
remember
good,
seeing
but
it.
they're these like
I can tell you the man
bad
can walk free.
actors, and we should throw the book at them. You're just being extremely
Chadical
biased.
speaking.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa, you raised your hand. You're new. I'll go to Hannah soon.
Hi. I have a couple questions to anyone who wants to chime in. So the day of January 6th, and if there was information about that day that the government had, it was Trump. Trump was in charge of the government. He was in charge of all the agencies, and so I'm curious why you think that he wasn't prepared for this. And the second question was in reference to Hannah's point earlier about the FBI. And I think from my point of view, there was people in the crowd from the FBI, from the military, police, all that. But they were there to support Trump. So they might have known something was going on, but they weren't there
No. We know that there were FBI agents that were planted in Proud Boys, in Oath Keepers. This is not like a
Yeah, we got
contested fact. This is a known thing. They've
ton of
admitted that this
information
is
about it. Yeah.
a thing.
I have no doubt about
So
that.
yeah.
And there's feds at every event too. It's like Jan 6 isn't special.
I understand that, but there was a lot of people in the government, in the FBI, all the agencies that support Trump. So
Okay, cool. That's not what I'm talking about, though. That's irrelevant to the point I was making.
okay, well, what about the other question?
Okay, I'll answer the other ones. So I'm in the government. I understand how the government works. There's three branches of the government. There's the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. The capital area is controlled by the legislative, aka is the Speaker of the House for the most part. who's the King Dooku over that. So in terms of, that's the reason why there's the allegation that that there was the willful intention to not properly secure the Capitol for what would be a contentious event. Okay, that's my understanding of it, and the government's really serious about it in terms of, like, I'm not sure if you've been tracking the news lately, but one of the things that the legislative branch has been up in arms about was that the CIA was compromising their computers while the legislative branch was trying to perform oversight of the CIA. That's something, what I'm saying. So obviously, most of the brouhahas normally are happening between the legislative and the executive, and then the judicial is making decisions and kind of playing referee. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna actually have to go to sleep pretty soon.
Yeah, it's
Can I
getting a
ask a
little late here
question?
as well, but all right, what do you think? Should we because I think some people do have some sort of legit beef about some of the stuff that happened on Jan 6. I mean, fundamentally, if you look at it, it was, like the argument of, oh, it was just retarded. Yeah, I get that.
I
Of
think it
course
could have
it
been
was,
awesome.
but there was more to it, sadly, I think. But it is very tragic that people are having to suffer so much for just, like, trespass.
It's
I
like
think
an
that's the
afternoon
problem.
of fun and a lifetime
I
of a
I don't
hangover.
know if you could call it that,
Well,
Chatical.
I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
it's,
it
I
was
mean, it's like a
buffoonish, but it was
euphemism, is
real.
what
I
I'm
mean, like,
saying.
Riley Williams is
there
this,
were people
like,
with nefarious.
Graper type, and yeah, it was totally ridiculous what she did, and I do feel sorry for her,
What
genuinely.
happened?
But
What'd she do?
she's the Graper chick who, like, stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop and tried to sell it to Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's like, that
Wow,
was
that's crazy.
totally
That's like a Seth
absurd.
Rich level thing.
Yeah, this is real. I mean, it's totally absurd. She probably couldn't have achieved what she was trying to do, but, like, that's what she was trying to do. And I don't know. It's like, I genuinely do feel sorry for her, but if I just put myself in the position of the government, that is so
He's
much
retarded.
worse than someone, like, stealing a laptop from Best Buy. And which it all should be punished, of course. But
Multiple things
that
can be
is,
true at once too. Like, it can be true that, like, I disagree with Richard. I don't think it was an insurrection. I do think it was illegal entering the Capitol or breaking windows in the Capitol. So, like, I don't think either side of this is correct. I think that it's somewhere in the middle.
okay. Before I go, Alpha Warrior. So are you just going to call me a liar, or do you have something legitimate to say?
Well, I could give you proof, and I don't have to call you a liar, and I can make the audience decide for themselves.
What is your point?
You had 13 people that were arrested between January 4th and January 20th for firearms-related offenses in D.C. You had 3 of them that were on January 4th, and you had a couple that were like January 9th all the way to the 20th. Every arrest that was firearms-related on January 6th, not one single one was on the Capitol grounds or near the Capitol, or they were at the nighttime near the White House and different things like that. This is open source information. Anybody can look it up.
What is your point?
Well, when somebody comes on here and says the protesters had guns at the Capitol, that's a lie. And if I'm wrong,
The Washington Examiner says that there were 3 people arrested with guns on the Capitol grounds.
go look at those specific cases and look at the times that they were arrested, and it was after curfew. So that's why I said,
okay,
not according to this one website.
okay,
There were, but I mean, this 3 out of 1,000.
Even if we're your point is just irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant because
the idea
because here's
that
the thing, there's a
no,
misrepresentation. Now, the one gentleman that was speaking right now, where he says there were people on both sides that did wrong things, that's about the most accurate statement. You have the ability to address your government. Now, people need to understand, for trespassing to be and just for people that don't know, I was a cop for a decade and a half, 14 and a half years. There's certain elements of the crime that have to be met. You have to have signs that are posted clearly red. If you're going to do the riot act, you have to give it at multiple levels and tiers within the people. And when we do these things, we have cops embedded in the crowd with recorders. So when we go to court, somebody could say, oh, well, I was in the back, so I couldn't hear it. We'll have a cop that was positioned in the back play the recorder so people can hear, oh, they could hear the riot act to disperse. In addition to that, cops, we are not allowed to create the exigency and then charge people with your reaction to that. When you guys look at what took place at January 6th and you saw the deployments of flashbangs and CS gas, you have to be trained and certified to deploy those weapons. When you deploy those weapons, certain things that come into play is windage. You deploy them because you're trying to move the crowd. When you deploy that into the center of thousands of people, you're creating a 360 degree of retreat. So essentially, you are forcing people towards the Capitol where you don't want. You're forcing people towards you where you don't want. Now, is it because of a lack of training? Did you have uncertified people? Was it on purpose? That's something that has to be investigated. It'd be speculation at this point. But people have to understand there's more than what's going on. You had a guy by the name of Evan Newman. You guys can go to the FBI's website, their DOJ dockets, and look it up. Evan Newman was at the Capitol wearing a Ukrainian Color Revolution scarf. He was shouting expletives, terrible things at the cops. Your kids should die, etc., etc. The FBI contacts him at the San Francisco International Airport when he's getting ready to leave the country. They let him go. He goes to Belarus to get asylum or whatever it is, and now he's talking about he had handlers, the same handlers that get related back to the whole Ammon Bundy thing at the ranch. So people need to understand there is more that took place here, and none of us are going to know the capacity of that until somebody actually does a thorough investigation. If you guys go and watch the original Capitol officers when they testified before the hearing, you had Officer Dunn, the big black guy. In his testimony at the very beginning, he says, I received a text in the morning that there was going to be riots. He's a frontline cop. If your frontline cops are getting intel that there's going to be a riot and people haven't even been finished setting up for the speech yet, why are you not deploying the resources for that? Because if the frontline guy had it, guys like me that plan these operations, we were well ahead. We were well aware of that information way before. You have, what's the gentleman that works for the Capitol, Tariq, that's telling us there's people there that gave intel to Nancy and to Yoganama Pittman about the intel that stuff was going on. These people have been made to sign NDAs and then they've been fired. If these things don't raise red flags for people, then you just don't want to know the truth.
What are you implying? Can you just say what you are implying?
I'm implying that there are a lot of markers that indicate that either the government itself or a faction working for the government had provocateurs in the crowd to stimulate these riots and these criminal acts that took place. Now, when that happens, if people are sheeple, you get up in a theater and everybody starts running, people will do it. Because of that, you did have people that committed crimes, and they need to be held accountable.
I understand your point. You're just trying to evade all responsibility.
And you were doing
for
the
people
same. You're
who-
trying to evade all responsibility of the government. We have the same argument. We're just fighting for two
No,
different sides.
I'm not. I'm not actually. I think the government was incompetent, and you have raised some
I'm not saying the
interesting
government
technical
was. I'm not saying the
details.
government was incompetent. I'm saying the government.
Well, I know
planned
you're
it.
saying the government was hyper competent.
No, I'm saying
and
they
planned
planned
it.
it.
Thanks for your
even
conspiracy
even if
theory.
the government instigated some of this, that doesn't remove culpability from the people that were there. Like,
Well, and
if someone tells
in
me,
that
if
situation,
someone,
the Constitution and the Supreme Court would say otherwise because there's a thing called entrapment.
well,
And when
hear
if
me
the
out.
government
If someone
leads
tells
you
me
into it, that's entrapment, and that's actually against your constitutional rights.
that's fine. That doesn't make it moral. If someone tells me to go kill someone and I kill
I
them,
agree with
it's
you.
just as
I
much
agree with
my
you
fault as their
100%.
fault.
People that broke windows, people that hit cops, I think they need to be thrown in jail. However, that being said, if the government created the scenario and entrapped people, well, then people are due their rights. They're due the process. The fifth.
Okay, this is. I'm gonna have to go because I'm sleepy. But this is what I really passionately hate about conservatives, and I mean this very seriously, it's this: conservatives imagine themselves as these just like little lambs, and they could not do anything wrong, and if they do anything wrong, they were just like misled by bad forces, and they couldn't even do an insurrection. I mean, we don't even know where to begin, and what like, are you just all a bunch of children? I mean, like, you did it. Own it. You wanted to keep Trump in office. You said that over and over and over. You say it now. Just accept some level of responsibility that you are an agent with a brain who can use rationality to achieve an objective. And like all of this stuff, even if there's like little kernels of truth here and there, it's all of this conspiracy theory of like, I didn't do anything. I'm just this like babe in the woods with no agency. And I'm just tired of hearing this from conservatives. It's pathetic. I would respect you if you were just like, fuck yeah, we wanted to keep Trump in office, you bastards. That's actually kind of cool. But this like, they made us do it. Ray Epps made us do it. The government did it. Antifa did it. It wasn't what it was. Broken kettle logic. And it's just so like gay, for lack of a better word. Like, be a badass. I mean, if Juan Perón like failed in a coup, he wouldn't claim that like, I don't know, he didn't actually want to overthrow the government. He would have been like, well, my coup failed. I wasn't badass enough. I don't know. We're so innocent. We're so stupid. We're childlike. We couldn't do this. Get out of, like, I don't have any respect for you all if you think this way. Sorry.
I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't think that's what he's saying, Richard. I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
Responsibility for something outside of breaking a window. You wanted to keep Trump in office for 4 years. Period. End of statement.
Well, I think it's unfair to generalize everyone that was there that day as wanting to keep Trump in office.
No. What Spencer wants to hear is conservatives just admit you wanted to do insurrection. Here's the thing, and hypothetical.
I didn't quite say that. I said keep Trump in office.
Of course,
decertify votes and keep him in office. That's what literally everyone wanted who was there. Literally everyone wanted that.
Everybody wants that. Now, what you're trying to allude to was that people went there with the preemptive mindset of committing crimes, and that's where you're wrong. And everybody knows you're wrong. And everybody's tired of people like you trying to sell this narrative because you sound like a dumbass.
Well, Alpha, and now that I defended you, I'll defend Richard. I think it's true that there are people there that did want to commit crimes and did want to overthrow the government.
I agree too, and they worked for the government.
Yeah, but
God. See, exactly. You do exactly what I say, man. Literally what I said. Anyone who did anything wrong was like a Fed or an Antifa, and all the conservatives were all good. It's just pathetic. It's just utterly pathetic.
Richard, I'm here telling you I didn't think every person there was good. But with that being said, we are all in agreement here that anyone who did bad, whether they were coerced into it, had their arm twisted, were part of the government op, deserves to get what's coming to them. That is not what happened. An insurrection or failed coup was not a thing. They were there to have their voices heard. Now, me, being from New York, I would have never went there. I ain't stupid. But here's the thing. There are people like myself who love the country and just aren't street smart and haven't grown up in a way I grew up. So they don't know better. They think, you know what, I'm going to support my president. I knew that was like a honeypot trap. I'm going nowhere near that.
It's a good thing you didn't go, Miss G. It's a good thing.
Pardon?
Yeah.
So it's a good thing you didn't go down there, Miss G.
I have been
on
no
the list
intention.
by now for sure.
I ain't
But I think we should go to name redacted while Richard's still here. I think he may.
Okay, and then I'm going to go to sleep.
All right, Alpha. We've been friends all year, but since you're a cop, I have a couple questions for you. Do you believe the Capitol police officer that used deadly force against Ashley Babbitt had standing?
Absolutely not. And I can explain it if you want.
I mean, I can explain to you why he did, but I'll hear you first.
In order for us to use deadly force, there has to be an imminent threat to great bodily injury or death to ourselves, to others. In this situation, one of the things that the fundamentals that they teach us is hands kill you. You can see Ashley Babbitt's hands; they're on the doors. Somebody breaking a barrier or a perimeter, that's not imminent death. That's not threat of imminent bodily harm. You're not justified in homicide.
Okay. So standing for that situation, they don't need to have a weapon. The mere fact that it was that section of, and I'm just talking about this specific situation, that section of the rioters or protesters was extremely violent. There was 1 or 2 police behind that door. They saw a crowd of people, and that was probably, if I'm mistaken, the most violent situation I've seen, where they did have some sort of weapon that they were smashing the window, and they were doing that in order to break through. And behind her was a mob of people. That in and of itself would give the officer the reasonable, would be able to make him come to the reasonable conclusion. And look, I feel bad that she died, but from a law enforcement perspective, Alpha, you probably will see my point. That situation.
Well, let me preface it with this. I've been in 4 officer-involved shootings. And each one of those I was actually being shot at. So when I tell you it's 100% not justified, there's a lot of things that we look at. One of the things that we do when we judge these types of panels is we look at that individual officer. How much time does he have on? What type of teams does he belong to? And what would a reasonable officer with his time on, with his experience, how would they react? And in this situation, just to prove the point, you had a tactical team that was just there, probably more highly trained than him. Nobody deployed any use of lethal force at all.
Are you allowed to shoot a fleeing felon, Alpha?
In California, yes, you are.
Okay. Well, this was actually
there's an asterisk. There's
the
asterisks to that. It's not just clear and cut as you would explain. There are asterisks that have been applied to that over the years. But in this particular situation, some of the things that I'll use to judge it: how many rounds did he fire?
I don't know, 1 or 2. But okay, so let me finish my point.
It was just one. Here's the other thing, and this is in their policy: when feasible, and this is in like 99% of law enforcement agencies' lethal force. When feasible, you give a warning before deploying lethal force. There was plenty of time here to give a warning. I'm going to use lethal force. It was never done.
So I'll finish my point.
And for the record, I don't give a completely partisan on that. I will always give the cops the benefit of the doubt on that. But in this situation, a person died, and it was a murder.
It's tragic when someone dies. I agree. But as a officer, if you put yourself in that position, or do you think it's likely that officer that fired at her was reasonably in fear for his life?
No,
based
because
on Alpha,
the reason I'll say no
based on the fact that they were being violent, they were using some sort of stick or whatever they were to smash the window, and then there were a bunch of other people, which mean that one officer was outnumbered by at least 100 people, and they were doing that with the intent to go through that window and God knows what else. So based on those, is it reasonable for that officer to feel in fear for his life?
Is this the Babbitt situation?
Based on those variables that you're giving, which he would have testified to had they been true, but I'll just stipulate that, let's just say they are true. You would have seen other characteristics that would have corroborated that. He would have been on the radio. I need immediate backup. There was no call for him on that. It wasn't. We have all the radio traffic.
No, you absolutely do
He's not on there.
Also, you said that they weren't warned
get back, get
Okay,
down.
so Alpha.
No.
What do you mean? Wait, there was tons of warning even by the crowd
Yeah,
itself. How
literally,
many
get
people in the
back,
crowd
get
said,
down,
he's
get
got a
out of the
gun,
way.
there's a gun? Now, the point people make is, well, it was so loud in there, you couldn't hear anything even just a few feet away. So Babbitt,
So Alpha, as you
people around
know,
her were saying that.
you don't need to have a gun to show for a officer, or even if you're an officer and you're viewing two people fighting, if they're using any sort of a weapon that can cause great bodily injury, you
I
have the
never
right
once
to
said
use
I never
deadly
once said she
force.
had to have a gun.
No, I know, but
I
but
said
she didn't need a
have
weapon
to,
of
you
any
have you have to be able to articulate that there's an imminent
I
Hold
threat
up,
that.
hold up,
to
hold up.
great
The
bodily
imminent threat
injury.
is like the thousands of people that are about to come over that
Then why
barrier.
didn't they shoot the thousands of people?
Because all they needed
Because
to
they
shoot
didn't
was
come
one, and no
through
one
the
else came
barrier.
back
They didn't
through.
break through the
Alpha.
barrier.
Neither
Only
did
she did.
Neither did she.
So
She
Alpha,
got
if
her
it's
head
She was
happening
shot.
literally
your
jumping through the window, dude. That's
Then
when she got
why
shot.
weren't they shooting the other people jumping through the windows?
because no one else was
Who else
jumping
jumped through
They
the
stopped.
window?
You look
not
at
an
the
argument for not
footage. They
shooting
did it.
her.
The entire perimeter
So
was being
Alpha,
breached through windows.
my question is just, since you're in law enforcement, would your department have had your back if you were that cop and you felt in fear for your life because you saw people smashing windows trying to get through, and you're the only officer there, and there's God knows how many, at least 100, you can't even see or count how many people behind her? Would your department have your back if you shot her?
Not changing any variables and not putting my experience in place of his? Absolutely not.
Yeah, this is nonsense. Listen, go watch Law of
Okay,
Self-Defense.
I love you, Alpha, but
Andrew
I disagree.
Branca.
Maybe we can talk more
He
about
did a
it.
whole breakdown of the Ashley Babbitt case, and he's a self-defense attorney. It's 100% justified. I'm not saying it's
He's got good
awesome.
videos.
I'm not saying it's right, but under the laws of self-defense, it's 100% justified.
Who did that video?
Andrew Branca.
Law
He's
of
on with
Self-Defense.
what's his name? Nick. He's smart. I like him.
Yeah,
Nick Sartor.
his women takes are kind of weird, but like on self-defense, he's pretty solid.
Well,
He's pretty funny when he's
let's,
drunk too.
Let's go to OPSEC and then we'll go to Andrew.
Yeah, so I just had a quick take. So do you guys know what the purple paint means? Like if you're from Texas?
Private property.
Yeah, and how could that be used to, I don't know, justify using deadly force?
What are you
My
talking about?
understanding is that if it's visible, it indicates that you're on private property, and therefore someone could use deadly force if necessary.
Okay, so now let's think about the U.S. Capitol, the capital of the United States.
What are you saying?
America.
Are you saying if someone's on your property in Texas trespassing, like just open land, you can just shoot them? That's not how that works.
No, absolutely not. I'm not
that's not
saying
it.
that. But
So what are you saying, OPSEC? I don't understand.
So if you see that purple paint and you get shot on private land in Texas, you probably shouldn't be surprised. Same exact thing. Well,
okay.
Are you from? Have you been to
You can't just shoot someone who walks in.
This sounds like nonsense.
Every state has different laws on what
It's
you're
not
allowed
nonsense.
to do.
Okay, so the federal government has laws on that, and it's normally like you see it with like nuclear carrying vehicles and things like that. They will shoot you for attempting to get in a vehicle like that and some other different things. But most government locations are not like that at all.
Yeah, but the US
private
Capitol,
property. Like if it's just open farmland and there's paint somewhere on like a fence, or you don't get to shoot somebody because they trespass. Like even in the
I'm
state
not
of Texas.
saying that's the case. I'm just talking about the purple paint and how that's been used previously. But same thing, even more so, applies if you're talking about the U.S. Capitol.
Wait, how has it been used previously? What are you talking about?
All right, go
just sent you
what
a
is your
link.
point, OPSEC? I don't grasp what
I
you're,
just sent you a
just
link,
say
Ron.
what your
All
point
right,
is.
U.S.
Don't-
Capitol. No one should have been surprised if the first person to break a window and climb through it in the United States Capitol, while it was in lockdown, got shot. That's silly. That's
Well,
absolutely.
I agree, but I just
Yeah, but-
again, I'm gonna have to go to sleep because it's now 2 a.m. here. I can't believe you guys stay up this late. But yeah, it's like the state has a right to defend itself. This was not. This wasn't even a case of like some crazy homeless person who broke a window at the Federal Reserve building or something. Maybe you shouldn't shoot that guy. All right. This was a case in which there was an open call for taking the government back. This is a revolution. 4 more years, decertify the vote. Like, this was a direct assault on the government, and it has a right to defend itself. So I just feel like it's like this avoiding. If it wasn't that, what was it? Just Trump people gathered to have fun? Again, you're just making yourself seem like a bunch of children by making these arguments.
Richard is just trying to say grow a pair in a more eloquent way.
No, Richard sounds like the
Hannah,
Washington
I read
Post.
the link you sent me, and it says nothing about like shooting someone for criminal trespass.
No, I know. I'm looking up another one.
I mean,
All right.
taking everything out of the rest of it, yeah, a lot of people were just walking around, doing nothing, okay? But that I'm talking about that one instance where there was violence and their door was locked. They were using some sort of object to smash the window and break through. I don't know if that officer, Alpha, you can tell us, do you think that officer had a taser? Do you think he had pepper spray? Did you think he had any other alternative means to stop that person from coming in and the 100 people behind her?
So I don't think you can trust Alpha and on any of these takes, because he was saying that there should have been a warning, and there's very, very clearly a warning. Get back, get down, get out of the way.
Yeah.
She still
Yeah, I mean, I
tries
trust
to
Alpha
climb through
because
the
of
window.
And the entire crowd saying he has a gun. Multiple.
The crowd doesn't constitute us giving a warning. Our department
No,
follows.
those
And like I said,
warnings and
it's not
directions from the
mandatory.
police
It's not
officer.
mandatory. That's why I proceeded with saying policies typically say 99% of the time when feasible. But what I'm saying is when you're trying to articulate these variables that Name was saying, well, he was scared for his life, you're going to see other characteristics that go hand in hand with that, which is going to be, 1199 over the radio, immediate backup, all these different things. When those things are absent, you have a hard time articulating that the officer felt this imminent threat to his life, because other things that are consistent with other officers in those types of situations are absent. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm willing to bet that your department used encrypted chat, used encrypted comms, and that you probably haven't heard everything. And even if that wasn't the case, there were congressmen and congresswomen on the other side of that door. Of course, there's going to be lethal force. Would you be saying the same thing if Trump was in a room and someone tried to break in? Like, seriously, think about it. Either you're a bad actor or you're a this is a joke.
Alpha wants the government. Like, if Trump supporters do it, then Alpha's going to defend their rights to the hill.
This is
if
just a
if
simple-
BLM did something, then Alpha's going to be like, shoot them dead.
You had
BLM
out in Washington and Seattle that barricaded a police department with officers inside, set it on fire. What you're saying is then the officers could have just started shooting people through the windows, and we would have been good with it, right?
If people are setting the building
Do you think
Do
you think my answer to that would be like, no, heaven forbid?
And what is the thing you can articulate? An immediate threat to great bodily injury or death. You don't have that here.
They're
trying.
Yes, you do.
So Alpha, I'm not a.
Here's what maybe the normal soft beta guys need to understand. People yelling and screaming and breaking shit, that's not indicative of great bodily harm. It might scare you guys.
Do you know what?
Hold up, Alpha. Let me talk first.
You're in a
Let me say.
riot situation and you have massive disparity of force. What are you talking about? You have
So,
one
Alpha,
officer
I'm not-
and a crowd of thousands violently breaking into the area.
Why
that
do you
he's in.
why do you think protests don't always have people? This happens all the time in protests.
What?
Like I said,
Alpha-
it might scare you guys, but for the men and women that are trained for this, there's
Alpha,
a higher
stop
tier
this!
before
Stop
you
this
deploy
like
that.
dick measuring bullshit.
Hey,
Alpha, I'm not.
Richard, I'm just calling you guys pussy in a very polite way. I'm sorry.
Alpha, I'm not a. Hold on, Richard. I'm not a law enforcement officer, but I did work in public service. I'm a paramedic, and like if I was there, I would be in fear of my life. Like I would have declared C not safe and staged, like a couple miles away or whatever. Like it was not a safe area at the time. Like
You would have.
people should
Alpha,
be.
I got a question for you.
When
Hold
the
on.
firefighters
Hold
and the
on.
medics stage, who goes over there and renders the
Alpha.
scene safe? And they do that without killing people.
Yeah,
And then we say the
Alpha.
scene's code 4, and then you
So,
roll in.
so the object that was used to smash the window was a flagpole. Do you believe that if those people got through the window with that flagpole, that they could have used that to inflict great bodily injury or death upon an officer?
If Ashley would have been holding that flagpole in her hand and would have been pointed at the direction of him when he fired it, I would say 100% it's justified.
So he should have waited for her to come in and shot the guy with the flagpole?
I said the guy. No, I'm saying if she would have had the flagpole in her hand and she would have had it pointed at his direction,
he asked
she
you
would
with
have been
something
justified.
different. He's saying she was coming in first, so he should have just let her go by while still aiming at the window, but she's now behind him. Definitely now a threat, like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other people.
Well,
passed
there
without
you
the
could week the
flagpole.
Monday night.
Now you have no control of the
Alpha, how
situation,
many
and they
cops
can kill
were
you.
if you want
Okay.
a Monday night quarterback it, why did the tactical team leave? The
Yeah,
tactical
Alpha, that's
team
my
could have
question.
addressed
How
it.
many
There's
cops
a
were
whole.
at that specific scene? Was it just the one?
Yeah, you had one on his side, one a little bit farther back down the hallway, and then I think there was like 4 or 5 on that tactical team that left and went down the stairs.
Okay, so there were 2 cops facing a door where you had the most violent of the whole situation of people smashing, which is violence, smashing a window, breaking into a locked door using, heavy objects. I mean, we'll agree to disagree, but if it was me, I would be in fear of great bodily injury at the minimum.
But that's just because you're a beta male.
No. Alpha knows what I'm talking about.
Alpha, there was also reports that some of the other Congress critters had their protective detail personnel that were armed also and were around, were near in proximity. Now, I don't think that they were part of the police department, but I remember reading
That's
that there
all I
was
wanted to
multiple
talk
people
about
that were
as far as
armed
J6.
also.
All right.
I was just curious.
I'm going to sleep. Yes.
Good night, Richard. I hope we didn't break you
Night,
tonight.
Richard.
Good night, everyone.
Richard.
I'm still Napoleon was right.
Yeah.
He showed it.
Am I ever gonna get
Are you salty that Napoleon didn't make it to Louisiana? Like that would have been pretty cool.
I am salty about that. Yeah, I wish he would have made it like to Antarctica. Yeah. But yeah, whip of grape shot. Those papists got what they deserved. I've always thought that ever since I read about that incident in middle school. I've been a fan. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye. Okay, nuance. This purple paint thing. I'll have to ask my brother-in-law to refresh me because he was explaining it to me. But my understanding is that it has been used in a legal to justify some kind of stand your ground type, I don't know, castle doctrine shooting. I don't know. Let me get clarification. I tried to do a quick Google search and I couldn't find what I was looking for.
Sure. I mean, again, it's to identify private property and can be used legally when it comes to criminal trespass. But
right.
In the state of Texas, just general criminal trespass on private property, not someone's home, but open land or whatever, you can't just shoot someone because
no.
Past a tree or whatever.
No. That's not what I was trying to imply. If I'm recalling correctly, I believe that the specific case that it was used in Arkansas had to do with hunting season, and it is supposed to be specifically taken as a no hunting on this property sign here, which I think is true in Texas too. And I believe the person that trespassed was a hunter who had shot a shot. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask for clarification.
If they had a gun or a bow or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a way different circumstance.
Yeah, no, it's not just, oh, you passed my purple tree, now I'm going to shoot you. That's not at all what I was trying to imply. But it has contributed
Some
to a
people think
defense.
Texas is like that. They're like, it's my property.
Oh, no,
Whatever I want here.
What do you mean it is?
Nuance,
I
did you see Ashley Babbitt when you were at the Capitol that day?
No, but I've actually met her mom at a congressional hearing.
I thought I was going to get shot in Texas one time. Lucy, it was like 3 a.m. We were at a park. I was letting her run around and she ran into these people's backyard. And I like couldn't get her to come back to me. And I just knew like somebody was just going to shoot me and that was just going to be the end of it. But thankfully that didn't happen. It's Texas, so you just never know.
Yeah, especially at nighttime, you got to be a bit
Yeah.
more careful because they have like a special law when it comes to criminal mischief in the nighttime, and it
Yeah.
really expands the.
Not that I wanted to get shot, but I actually couldn't have exactly blamed them if they had thought I was doing something questionable, considering I was like prowling around in their backyard in the middle of the night. But thankfully, we did not wake them up.
Oh yeah, like someone could probably shoot you for that. You got to be careful.
Yeah, no, it
That's
was
literally
terrifying.
criminal mischief in the nighttime.
Yeah.
It's a very post-millennial law there.
It's very uncommon. Not many states at all have a law like that.
Do you know what it's based on?
It's based on it's harder to see shit in the nighttime, and nighttime's scarier than the day.
It's a biblical concept. It comes from what is it, Hannah? Deuteronomy 12 or something?
That sounds
yeah,
right.
I'm sure it does. Absolutely.
Alpha, I'm going to send you this article and you can tell me if it's like wrong or not about these three people who apparently, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but the way I'm reading it, it looks like there were three people who were charged with having guns on the Capitol ground during the riot.
I heard something about that. I heard they weren't in the Capitol or something. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah,
really
you have one that was
Most
arrested.
of them weren't.
You have one that was arrested on Capitol grounds, but it was at nighttime, and they stopped that person for violating curfew. So it wasn't during the incident. You had two separate ones that were arrested, but they were a couple of blocks away. And when you go through their actual paperwork, you'll see that at the actual Capitol during the alleged insurrection, there was nobody that was arrested or charged with a firearm.
Yeah, that's my understanding, and to be honest, I don't really like look into the Jan 6 stuff that much. That just it is what it is.
It's just so it's like the Israeli Gaza conflict. It's just so polarizing. It's sad.
So Alpha, I listened to what you said, and I agree with like 99% of what you said, except for I think I live around the DC area, and I picked up something that's maybe a little bit different from this. They say that all real estate is local, but I think actually how law is looked at is very local too, because I think that there's almost like if you look around the DC area, it's the number one place for Jan Sixers and other conservatives and Republicans in general to be convicted. Much more lenient sentences or nothing happening to people that are committing certain kinds of crimes. It's almost like there's these kind of rules around some of this, and I think part of what happened with Ashley Babbitt and Roseanne Boylan was part of that, because of the fact that the victims were of a certain skin color, things like that, of a certain political persuasion. They were able to weaponize that against them, and I think it's actually a scary thing.
People have made that argument to me, if the races were reversed. But I mean, in this situation, you don't really have to go there. It's just, you just look at the situation as this person shot this person. These were the facts surrounding that. Is it justified or is it not? And like I said, the saying it's justified versus not justified, it can change in a split second. Like, I don't know if it was you, Nuance, that said it, or Crazy Spencer that said it before he left. Is, let's just say they would have breached the doors and everybody would have came charging in. At that moment, the argument changes. And now you have that immediate threat, a great bodily injury. What I'm trying to get people to understand is, just because somebody's starting to penetrate, you don't get to kill them to dissuade the rest of the people from doing that. We're not justified in doing that. And now it sucks because there's the inherent extra risk that we're taking, but that's just the way the law's outlined for us.
No, I mean, that's why, like, basically every self-defense attorney worth their salt disagrees with you. So go watch the Law of Self-Defense Andrew Bronca video on it and learn something.
Yeah,
That sounds like no true
but
Scotsman argument, kind of nuance.
You hear these same guys, and they'll go
How
talk
is
in
that
other
no true
situations.
Scotsman? This is like literally every self-defense attorney on planet Earth.
It's not every self-defense attorney on planet Earth, because if you talk to conservative self-defense attorneys,
Andrew
they give you
Bronca is conservative.
He is not conservative. Go look at some of the other cases that he's talked about where he said that it was justified and it absolutely wasn't. And there's a lot of race stuff that's involved in it. He claims conservative, but if you look at some of his prior arguments, the dude is not conservative.
Like, what's an example of a case where he said it was justified and it wasn't justified?
He was saying that
because I found opposite. I found cases where he said it's not justified, and I found it was justified, and I actually argued with him about it.
He was saying the Freddie Gray one was not justified, and it absolutely was. But public opinion doesn't say that it was justified.
Yeah, and that gets back to, I think, what really matters is actually, the opinion of district attorney, a grand jury, and then a jury, and a lot of those are really, really local. I think around the DC area, they're going to be very lenient for certain crimes, and they're going to throw the book at certain other crimes, and that's exactly what you're seeing with Jan 6, but you're seeing it with other prosecutions too. It's kind of like what's that there's that one area that in Texas that's always used for patent cases. It's the same exact kind of thing.
Wait, the Freddie Gray case wasn't like a self-defense shooting.
No, I'm not saying self-defense. I'm just saying justified shootings.
What?
Or a justified homicide, however you want to look at it.
What? No, he died like in the back of a van without proper like safety restraints or whatever.
Yeah, but they blame the guys because it said the altercation and being on top of them and alleged chokeholds and all these other things. And when you look at it, everything was deployed for. I mean, they could have done different things, but there's nothing wrong with what they did do.
What? Are you thinking of a different case?
No, Freddie Gray, the cigarettes and the tapes. Unless he's not the cigarettes and the tapes, I'm thinking of a different one.
No, the cigarette case is
that's Mike Brown.
Davis or something.
But that's kind of irrelevant because Andrew Bronca doesn't claim to be an expert on.
Freddie Gray was Maryland. The cigarettes case was
the paddy wagon.
Yeah, Freddie Gray's the Baltimore guy.
People look the same, huh?
Chadigal. Whoever said that.
I actually have a question about like police justified shootings. So the same year that we had all the BLM riots or whatever, we had this weird shooting in Lafayette where like this guy, they said he had a knife. I think it turned out to be a cell phone. It was actually one of the times that I was like, okay, these cops actually did seem to like not react well. They were at a gas station in the rougher part of town. It was like 24 hours. He was trying to get into the building, but he was at the side of it's two entrances, one on each side. And he was at the one that was like known to be locked all the time. Someone told me that like the fact that these officers like patrol this area, it's well known common knowledge that that's the side that they lock, that actually worked against the cops. Cause I think they actually got fired, which I was like pretty surprised about. Is that like valid or
fired all the time over this stuff?
What? No, I'm asking Alpha because he actually has been in. Would that actually be something that like would contribute to them looking at it as like a not good shooting?
You have to repeat it to me. I was looking for the case to see if I had the right one, Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
No, you were thinking of the Eric Garner case. That's not the Freddie Gray case.
All right, you corrected me on that. All right, go ahead with it again, Patricia. I apologize. I wasn't paying attention to you.
It's Hannah. Patriarchy Hannah. No, because okay, so they were at a gas station. They shot this guy like a bunch of times. It was really bad. But he was trying to get into the building, but he was on the side of the gas station that was like well known to be locked. And my understanding is like this is part of the evidence that our like city parish president used to like fire them because they patrolled this area and it's common knowledge that they keep the other side unlocked at night. Does
Wait,
that sound like
so the cops shot the suspect because he was trying to get into a building?
yeah, he was trying to get into a gas station that was open. They claimed that they shot him because he was trying to get in the building. He was reaching for the door handle. And my understanding is that part of the evidence that they used that the cops acted inappropriately was that it's common knowledge that the side of the building he was on is the side of the building that they lock after dark.
Well, whether it was locked or it wasn't locked, you can't shoot somebody just because they're breaking into a place.
Well,
As
they
far as
claimed they thought he had a knife.
see, I would have to see it now. If he brandished a knife towards them and they fall within that 21-foot rule, and that's argumentative with a lot of people, then that's different. If they said that he had a weapon, but if he's not, posing a threat to them, he's like, let's say he's just using the knife to break into the place. Nah, you can't shoot the guy for that.
No, he was trying to get in. It wasn't actually a knife. It was a cell phone. It was a bad shooting all the way around. We thought we were going to have a riot, but we
Well,
have
why the
like
heck you telling me it's a knife for? I'm making a judgment call on that.
Oh, no. I'm not being clear. Never. I'll just send you the news article. You can tell me what you think.
No,
Anyway.
It's a shitty position for cops, especially this day and age, because in this day and age, there's almost that expectation. It's unspoken. Obviously, it's not written down anywhere, but there's almost this expectation that you have to get hurt before you can respond. So I can understand that, especially when it comes to the Bird Babbitt case. But when you look at it, and you compare it to all the other cases, there's just there's a reason cops go through all this extra training. There's a reason that you give these split seconds of extra time to figure out, hey, am I going to be in an OIS or am I not going to be in an OIS? It's shitty, but that's training. And department policies are going to be different, but the one thing that they're all pretty down the line on is that that threat, and they've actually made it even harder since I've done it. In the last 2 or 3 years, I think they've changed it. But when I was last doing it, you had to be able to articulate that threat of great bodily harm or imminent threat of death to yourself or somebody else or the public.
The thing that was kind of crazy was I think it was a bunch of cops. They shot like 11 times. Their claim was like, oh, he's trying to get into this gas station where there were actually customers. It was like, you're shooting at the gas station. It's bulletproof.
Well,
Get in class.
I won't comment to that one because that one sounds like it's a bucket of shit. But one of the things that a lot of times people say, well, they shot the person 20, it's 3 cops and they shot them 20 times. There's more to that, and there's a website that you guys can go to. It's called it's Use of Force Science, and it's perception reaction. It's been a while, but it'll explain. By the time the brain processes it, the threat's down, but you still put another 2 or 3 rounds in it. Multiply that by 3 or 4 cops, and yeah, it looks a lot. And it's always why sometimes, well, why do you shoot him in the back? And it's, well, when he deployed it here and he spun. It's a great website for people that are not familiar and never worked in the industry. Go and check it out. It's called Use of Force Science.
All right, let's go to our name, and then let's go to Andrew, and then let's call it a night. It's getting a little late.
So I just watched the Ashley Babbitt video again, and I'm not talking about any other J6 stuff. I'm just specifically this situation. They not only had the doors locked, they had a ton of furniture put up against those doors. There was one large man using a wooden flagpole to smash the windows over and over. And then another guy shows up he was smashing the windows with a flagpole. Another guy shows up with, looks like a motorcycle helmet. He starts smashing the windows. At this point, the officer had drawn his gun people started yelling, "He's got a gun! He's got a gun!" How would the officer articulate that? On January 6th at approximately 1300 hours, whatever, I was with one partner. That's what you said, Alpha. He was one other guy. And I saw in this part of the Capitol, a violent mob of people using violent means, and those items they were using will be considered weapons, okay? Because those items can cause great bodily injury or death. I saw a violent mob attempting for however long, smashing windows with objects, multiple large men using objects, smashing windows, attempting to break through. It was only, me and my partner. I felt in fear of my life if they were able to break through because of the violence they were using. It is beyond reasonable doubt that they were in there to attack me. So I was forced to use deadly force on the first person that entered.
And the first thing a defense attorney is going to say is, please explain to me the evidence that you have that they were going to. Oh, sorry, you guys got my little one. But they're going to say, please explain to me the evidence that you have that they were going to attack you.
The evidence, Alpha,
let's.
one.
Well, hold on. I'm going to help
not
you
how
out.
that works.
That's very easy.
It is, because up until the moment, all you're describing right now is riot, chaos, and vandalism.
No. They were smashing through those
No,
doors.
wait. Remember
to
the
get
call
in.
over the radio where he said he heard that there were like shots fired or whatever? Do you remember that? It actually doesn't matter. Yeah, it does. Well, that was part of it. And remember, it doesn't even matter if shots were actually fired. If he heard it, the standard is not what actually happened, the perfect man with all the perfect knowledge. The standard is the reasonable person standard. Would a reasonable person in his circumstance do something similar?
Not a reasonable person.
Yes, I'm a reasonable person. I would.
No.
I probably would have shot too.
You're almost there.
Alpha.
Would a reasonable cop with his level of experience in his situation
Alpha.
respond?
Yes.
Okay, it's a big difference between saying
Alpha,
a regular
because
person
it's
and then a
also
cop.
Alpha, you know this, okay? It's also the situation in general. There was so many people there trying to break through using violent means and weapons to get through that could have caused him injury. And if they'd broken through,
Let me tell you guys, if that was the standard,
would have been reasonably in fear of his life because they were using violence to get in there.
If that was the standard, we would be smoking people coast to coast in this country like crazy over the last 6 years. Yes, we would. You're going to tell me that these riots that these cops go to where bricks are being thrown at their heads?
That's different, Alpha.
It's not different.
On
You're
an
going to tell me a
outside
brick
riot?
being thrown at you? No. Because on the outside, you may have 20 cops with you, but you're facing 300 people.
Yeah,
they're
but
throwing
they're in
bricks
riot
at you. They're throwing bottles with feces at you that can have bacteria
Alpha,
that can lead. This is what I'm
oranges, my
saying.
friend.
This is what I'm saying. You want to apply the threshold here, but you don't want to be consistent with that threshold otherwise. And I understand why, because it'd be chaos if we allowed
That's
cops.
different, Alpha, because you understand at your department that there are rules and standards for how to deal with riots. There's riot gears,
and that's what he was dealing with, a riot. He was in a riot.
Right. He was by himself. They weren't in riot gear.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, you guys. I'm not saying it wasn't a dangerous situation on what we see. I'm not saying it wasn't scary. 100% I agree with you guys there. However, you still just have chaos, riot, and vandalism. Now, let's say they breached that point.
With the intent to break
in. If you're trying to go with the intent, they were trying to break in to kill me, you have to have a lot of variables that are absent.
Well, it's pretty obvious because they were using violent means to smash the door down.
It's not pretty obvious, because if it was pretty obvious, the guy probably would have dumped 2 or 3 people.
If more people had gone through the window, he would have.
And like I said, that's just me facing, an opinion. I'm not saying that that's true, But just with all the shootings that I've known about and the ones I've been involved with, it's a single shot shooting in a situation like that doesn't match the context of I was in fear
Okay,
for my
Alpha.
life
Let me
from
one
everybody. Because
last.
Redacted. Bird was not alone. There were also members of the protective details
Alpha said there was
that were
only
there.
one other officer with
Yeah,
him.
he's mistaken, but there were, if you read over all the data on it, you'll find that there were other people there. They were a member of the Congress Critters protective details. I think it's only like the 4 highest people
Well, I
in
only
the
saw
House that
one
have
guy
protective
standing at that
details.
window.
Yeah, in
Okay.
his immediate, there was more people there, but in his
Okay,
immediate
so Alpha,
area,
I have a
there was
question for
only
you.
one.
Let me
Now,
put
but let me
let
say
me
this,
put it
Nate.
to you this way,
Let me
Alpha.
let me just add one thing real quick. Now, let's just say they would have broke those doors down, and they still would have had those things you were describing that they were holding. The entire variable and formula changes. I agree with you. He'd be justified there. It never met that threshold, and that's why it just doesn't.
Okay, I have
In my
I'll
opinion,
describe a
it doesn't
scenario
exist.
for you. Okay, and you tell me what your sergeant or your captain or lieutenant would be advising your force to do in this situation. Okay, if you are in a convenience store, you and one partner, and you saw uh, a mob of people, and a few people at the front of the store were using, a heavy stick and a bicycle, or a motorcycle helmet to smash through the window and try to break into that convenience store. Uh, what would you do? And there's 100 people behind them. What would you do?
If there's 100 people, they got weapons. I have innocent bystanders that are in the store and they're trying to break in and they got weapons. I'm going to put it over the radio what's going on, try to get the entire cavalry there. But anticipating they can't get there in time, I'm going to announce, hey, we're going to use lethal force.
And
then
they
I'm
jump
probably
through
going
the
to
window, they break
and
through. What would you do?
well, let me get their name. Let me get there
Okay.
before they penetrate, because I'm not going to wait for them to penetrate. Before they penetrate, they're breaking the glass. It's like, okay, they're going to get in here pretty soon. I'm going to fire 2 warning shots. The purpose of those 2 warning shots is because once they do penetrate with those weapons and I do dump them, I'm going to be able to articulate. They knew I was prepared to use lethal force because I fired 2 warning shots and they were still intent, even after that, to come in and then, great bodily harm to myself or the people that I was protecting.
Is it under your department's rules or policy, or if you know the Capitol Police, are they required to fire a warning shot?
Nobody's required to.
Okay, so you don't have to fire a warning shot.
You don't.
So that's your discretion as an officer.
Absolutely.
So I think you're getting my point. Would you be in fear of your life if a mob broke through?
If the mob broke through and they had weapons, absolutely.
Doesn't matter. You're outnumbered by 100 to 2.
Yeah.
By the way,
Whoever said things were going to be fair?
There are
I know, but that's
here's
typically
the thing.
case.
If that's the situation, my gun only got 20 rounds in it. I only got another 20 in the backup. I don't even have enough rounds to take on everybody.
But you would probably dump the whole mag, right?
Yeah, and we would still get killed. So it's not a matter of being outnumbered or not. It's what do you do with what you got in the situation.
Yeah. There's a court case, by the way. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the case of Ossian Sweet, where this is early 20th century. He was a black man confronted by like a racist mob or whatever, and they were throwing stones like at his house. And there's a mob, there's a riot outside your house, and he shot people and killed them. And they tried to charge him with murder, but he was ultimately acquitted because it was armed self-defense. So if throwing stones from a distance justifies shooting into a riot mob that's not like breaking into your house or whatever, you're trying to say, as someone is breaking a barrier with much closer with a
you're
violent
twisting what I
mob
said.
behind it,
That's
not
not
justified?
what I'm
Come
saying, Nuance. First of all, the threshold of how you gauge a civilian self-defense versus a law enforcement officer in the capacity of his job, they're viewed 2 different ways.
They give law enforcement way more leeway than civilians all the time.
So I want to say one last
well, hold on. I want to correct.
Yeah, let's say one more
was
thing,
saying
and then we got to close down.
I don't think because bricks are being thrown at cops with riot gear that you should start dumping bullets into the crowd. I don't think that at all. What I'm saying is if you're using the same argument you guys are presenting here, that
You're
argument
talking
would
about on
apply
the street.
there.
If you're in an enclosed space inside of a building and you have people you have to protect behind you and you don't really have the option of retreating like that.
They absolutely have the option of retreating.
That
Well,
guy
first
would
of
have got
all,
fired if he
you
retreated.
don't get to really like cede
All
the
right. So one
Capitol
other
to a
example
mob.
here,
Like
Alpha.
And
I'll bet.
he would not have gone fired for retreating
Alpha,
because
I'm going to
eventually
bet
that's
that
what they
you and
did
I
with them.
will agree on this situation. Okay. I have a pretty large home. So if I go down, if I hear glass breaking downstairs, I go downstairs and I see two people dressed in dark clothing, whatever, breaking in my home. I'm going to shoot them. I'm not going to wait till I see a weapon. They've smashed my window. They've came in my home. I'm going to feel in fear of my life. I'm going to shoot them. Would you?
Absolutely.
Alpha?
You're going to be in
Okay.
a lot of trouble because I
Thank
live
you.
in California.
No, you
But
wouldn't.
absolutely.
No, in
No, you
California,
wouldn't.
even in California, they typically don't charge for shit like that.
You'd be fine, Alpha.
In California, a burglar
If they
broke his
broke
leg in somebody's
inside
home
your
and he sued the
home,
family and he won.
Yeah, that's a different
California's
case.
fucked
You
up.
understand that's a way different case, right?
No, but California's fucked up is what I'm telling you.
well, either way, you're not going to be thinking about that. You'd dump them, right?
No, it's the one thing they taught us: rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Exactly.
I'm
All
sure
right,
the
guys.
officer that they felt the same. So,
Zach,
Good night,
thank
Zach.
you. Good night.
Oh,
Thanks, Zach.
let's go to Hannah. All right. Well, all right.
Oh
Good
no,
luck,
it's
Thank you
fine.
so
Alpha.
much
I'll
for
live
the
in another
hospitality.
space.
All right,
Awesome.
guys.
Yeah, I
Have a good
appreciate
I'll
one.
live
the
in another space.
hospitality. Everybody, shoot me some advice for my app if you got any help you can give me.
Alpha.